And we are live once again. How is it going for you, Christopher Sandbatch?
Well, you know, all kinds of shit's gone down. I was like, because
another week has gone by.
Another week has gone by, and new and strange travails and tragedies have erupted in my life. But like, you know, like I have this like thing about living in houses that have been built since 1980, and I tend to favor houses that were built before World War II. And
Same.
But the downside to that is when I move into one, like it's usually got all kinds of crud like built up, and I've spent the last week decrudifying the like pre-World War II house that I live in now. And I either stirred up. Well, I also went down to 6th Street with a bunch of friends on Easter Sunday. So either I got COVID
for church, right?
Yeah, either
church.
Either I got COVID or I stirred up some type of fucking demonic allergy. And like I was doing a poetry reading the other night and my throat closed up like in the middle of it and I had to stumble through the end. So, but we're soldiering on here.
Spiritual attack.
It's because I was drinking on Easter Sunday.
That's right.
I'm Catholic now.
And it wasn't the blood of Christ.
I'm Catholic now. We can do that.
But have you gone through the rite of Catholic initiation for adults?
I did that a long time ago.
Really?
I was initially, I was confirmed Catholic when I was like
when
I
so
was.
You don't have to go through it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I had to go to a priest and say I was sorry for like so formally. Okay, so I grew up an Episcopalian. I went to a Catholic prep school and they converted me, and you know we did confirmation and everything. But church is chicken, but you know, so what is it called when you apostatized is technically what I did whenever I was an Anglican from like 25 to 30, 34. So I had to go to confession and, you know, do all kinds of shit. But yeah, I mean, my confirmation name,
and the priest was like, oh, you're an Anglican. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, did you go to a place that had female clergy?
And I did.
And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, and he was like, got to cut your dick off.
Yeah, that's it. That's your penance. You've got to cut your dick off. That's it.
Get your dick off.
My confirmation name when I was 17 was Jude, who's the patron saint of lost causes.
Jude Thaddeus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wear a St. Jude medal, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Not my patron saint. My patron saint is Vincent. Who had
St. Benny, patron saint of pizza delivery guys.
Patrons. So I chose him because he had the raddest martyrdom I could find, which is getting peeled alive from his feet up while being rolled in red hot rock salt.
You know, you once accused me of not reading Book of the New Sun because I said I didn't like it. And I remember there is a scene in the beginning of Book of the New Sun where the torturer is flaying someone. It's the woman flaying someone alive by doing essentially that, by peeling the skin off.
That's true. Oh, the torturers.
So there's your proof that I read at least the first 20 pages.
That's true. And that they had to get rid of the women because they were too brutal. And then all the women literally became witches. Gene Wolfe writes women.
Oh my God, I've been writing women.
X guy extra with the super right out of the gates.
Oh my God, I'm going to be able.
Go in prison, genius. Don't you see the bars in front of your face?
One of these days, y'all are going to get us up to enough super chats where I can get supper.
One of these days. Well, there's a goal actually on this episode. You know, if we get at least 5 supers, we're gonna do a Jolly West special. Because I got some Jolly West readings that we can do.
Did you see me going off in the group chat today about Ray Pete and Jolly West?
I did not.
Yeah, because the Pete brigade was going hard out because I have Graves' disease, everybody, which is hyperthyroidism, and every time I mention that I have thyroid issues, people tell me to just fucking like iodine max, and I'm like, dude, you know, that's
pussy, just die. How about you?
They're like, oh, it's iodine problem. I'm like, no, that's hypothyroidism. When I eat seafood, I get like short of breath because iodine just fucking send your thyroid into like hyperdrive. And then they tell me, because Ray Peat did say this one time, he said that hyperthyroidism is often a form of disguised hypothyroidism. And I'm like, so your solution is for me to just take iodine until my thyroid fries itself completely, and then iodine starts to fix the problem. And so,
the only way out is through.
It's literally what they were saying. And I'm like, y'all are fucking retarded. Ray Peat is like on the same level as Jolly West and Jim Jones. And it's true to one extent or another, because I went.
How dare you accuse him of communism?
Because I went and looked at Ray Peat's an interesting guy, actually. He liked to paint naked ladies, as of course we all do. But in his case, it was painting pictures of naked ladies. And rather than painting the naked women.
Yeah, I get it. They're not the medium. The medium is not the massage there.
Yeah. But like, I was going through his emails. I'm like, look, he's referencing all of this MK Ultra material in his early emails. So I guess it's the same style of dude. Also, a fascinating thing about Ray Peat, if you check the gender breakdown on his emails, well over 80% of them are to women. It's fascinating.
What a hero. But men writing to women. That's the.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah. I was writing women because
my doctor said I had Hyperborean thigh autism, rather than
that's almost the same thing.
Hyperthyroidism.
It's almost the same thing there. Good job. You know what you should do? You should take some iodine for that, and you'll be right as rain.
Some Gaiodine. That's right. That brown stuff, what stains all your shit. Yeah.
Oh wait, writing women. What? Yeah, I've my Danish friend told me that I would probably have a very interesting perspective on writing a woman character. So I'm writing a short screenplay, but I don't know how to get films made, so it'll never come to any. Actually, I probably can, but it's for women that are locked in a house in New Orleans together, and they start doing witchcraft.
Okay, I mean, as four women. 3 or more women together is, legally speaking, a coven.
Yeah, this is literally the moral of this story is if you lock 4 women in a room together, they will start doing witchcraft.
Yes, the three of them who are most 3 of them will turn into a mother, a maiden, and a crone, and sacrifice the 4th.
That's literally what happens.
That's literally what's happening.
Yes,
I fucking called it. From my mouth to God's ears.
Yeah, you do the intrusive thought thing really well.
That is my ideal job. I've had many unideal jobs, but ultimately I would love to be an intrusive thought. Yeah. All right. Well, shall we go?
Speaking of women. Oh yeah. Back to Wendy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Speaking of what? Yeah. The one woman whose book we will ever read. That is right. That may be not true. I don't know. I don't know of any others that are on the docket though. Yeah. So we got through Wendy's movie story. Wendy's like best movie list. Probably has a good what's that site? Foursquare? Not Foursquare. Letterboxd? That's what it is. Yeah, Letterboxd.
Oh my god.
You can see how those are thematically similar.
There's just as an aside, you can always tell when someone is actually really a leftist if they have a Letterboxd account.
Really?
Yeah. It's
so you have a Letterboxd account?
100% tell. No, I do have an account. I have an account, but I only use it to spy on other people's accounts to see what kind of shitty movies they're trying to promote.
Nice.
I say all the time I'm not a movie person, but then like as it spools out, it's like, wait a second.
Oh shit, I have movie opinions.
Wait a second. He works on movies sometimes. He's always a guest on this movie fucking stream. He has a Letterboxd account. Like he's writing a screenplay. What the fuck is going on here?
How is he not a movie guy? What?
Yeah.
Yes, you contain multitudes. You contain multitudes, and that's because of the demonic intrusions. But,
Yes.
I've
been triple D'd. I've been triple D'd, and hence I can work on movies without being a movie guy.
You got the fourth D, which is demonic intrusion. And your demon is a movie guy. You've been invaded by Moloch.
Yes, so. Yeah, there's a question is whether or not my real name is my demon identity or if C Sandbatch is the demon. It's not totally clear at this point.
Yes. C Sandbatch is the well, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have you know what you were saying earlier that you don't like the Zero HP Lovecraft's writing, but that's literally a Zero HP Lovecraft plot.
Yeah, it's also an Edgar Allan Poe plot though.
I mean, okay. Not that but he didn't ever have the internet to apply things to.
That's true. I mean, so much of this is I don't want to.
You don't want to.
I don't want to steal Wendy's. I don't want to steal Wendy's thunder here.
All right. Well, but anyway, the next bit of the book is called the Bourne scenario, part 5. And we're going to talk about, maybe Timmy's okay. Maybe Timmy's okay. Maybe.
But wait, this is a direct show. Y'all should totally hit the super chat limit so we can do the Jolly West thing.
You should. You absolutely should. Because there's not going to be a whole lot more Jolly West, I say, looking at a Jolly West quote.
Yeah.
That I am about to read. And also, it's a fucking banger. So let's get started. Part 5, the Bourne scenario. Everybody's first patient is a dead body. Louis Jolyon West, MD, quoted in American Medical News, January 7th, 1991. For me to feel less lonely, all that remained to hope was that on the day of my execution, there should be a huge crowd of spectators, and that they should treat me with howls of execration. The anti-hero, Meursault in Camus' The Stranger.
Meursault.
Meursault in Camus' The Stranger, 1942. Tune into what I'm trying to say to you. Do you know what a sin eater is? Well, that's what we are. We're the sin eaters. It means that we take in the moral excrement that we find in this equation and we bury it deep down inside of us so that the rest of our cause can stay pure. That is the job. We are morally indefensible and absolutely necessary. You understand? United States Air Force Colonel, retired Eric Beyer, Operation Outcome Damage Assessment Team, The Bourne Legacy, 2012. For every sufferer instinctively seeks a cause for his suffering, more exactly, an agent, still more specifically, a guilty agent who is susceptible to suffering. In short, some living thing upon which he can vent his affects. For the venting of his affects represents the greatest attempt on the part of the suffering to win relief. Anesthesia. Friedrich Nietzsche, The Genealogy of Morals. Nietzsche talks about this. 1887.
That's Nietzsche. That's him. That's him. He's talking about him right there.
Have you ever read Nietzsche? No. No. I just did.
I posted my bookshelf for I thought everyone was posting their bookshelf the other day, and so I posted my bookshelf as a joke, but then I realized the only person that was posting their bookshelf was an e-girl that I'm vaguely interested in, and then I felt really conspicuous. But yeah. I've read every word Nietzsche ever wrote, and I think he's actually the only philosopher. Yeah.
The only one. Okay.
Yeah.
He would agree. The truth is no court, no punishment is ever enough. FBI Special Agent Dana Scully, The X-Files, 1996. Echoing the words of Nietzsche in a much more succinct way.
This set of quotations, if you take this out of context, you would think Wendy probably has a Dissident Right podcast.
You really would, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You quote the only thing here that is left coded is The Stranger. That's
right.
it.
Yeah. And but it's another one that's like you could like just like having a letterboxd account. If somebody quotes the stranger, you can be like you can like give them the what a strange thing to say like stare, and they'll know that you know that they know that you know that you know that they're a leftist.
Yeah. In January 1996, during a conversation with Jones team attorney Randy Coyne, Timothy McVeigh expressed his dread, third D, that if found guilty, he would be incarcerated at a supermax facility, a possibility his guards at El Reno assured him was inevitable. Coyne then relayed to the other defense team members that in the event Tim is sentenced to anything less than death, he suggested he would prefer a death sentence. On May 2nd, 1997, Jones team attorney Bob Wyatt, a partner in Jones's law firm, sent Jones his letter of resignation. In the letter, Wyatt wrote that while Wyatt knew McVeigh had made similar statements to others on the defense team, he wanted Jones to know that when he had met with McVeigh just a few days before, McVeigh clearly acknowledged that others were involved and that this is why there is so much factual conflict. On June 3rd, 1997, a jury returned their verdict, finding McVeigh guilty of 11 counts of murder. The federal agents killed. Conspiracy. 168 people died, only prosecuted for the deaths of the federal agents.
Well, you know, those other people were in Oklahoma, which is like I'm not even. I've been to Oklahoma, and I'm still not sure it's actually real.
You know what? I had a great weekend in Tulsa one time. Just to be clear, I had a great time.
What Tulsa is. Facts about Tulsa. It's the home of the Bob Dylan Museum. And it actually is kind of a hip little place.
They got a great
remarkable.
riverfront.
It's becoming kind of an overflow place. You know that what is that one? She's a novelist, Autumn McGowan, I think, whatever her name is. I think she lives in Tulsa, and like it's kind of becoming like a spillover city for married couples that like got tired of Austin traffic and they're all moving to Tulsa. So it's a cool place and getting cooler.
Yeah. Stay out, Californians, if any are listening.
Yeah,
I doubt any are listening.
Stay, dude. My audience skews way harder to California than you would expect. Like Texas, even 10 years ago, before I ever like talked about Texas always overrepresented itself in my like audience metrics. And California is actually my biggest Substack contingent.
Weird.
And so it's not only my largest contingent, it's also outsized.
Encourage group self-harm. Just, work on it. We'll solve this problem. Let's see. Finding McVeigh guilty of the federal agents, conspiracy, and using a weapon of mass destruction mentioned in what was the worst act of domestic terrorism in American history. During his sentencing hearing, when asked if he had anything to say on his own behalf, he simply quoted the dissenting opinion of Judge Brandeis in a 1928 illegal wiretapping court case. Our government is the potent, the omnipresent teacher. For good or for ill, it teaches the whole people by its example. That is the most our guy thing to fucking do when you are sentenced to death. I'm just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, actually, that makes it even more in our guy.
Yeah, that's so true.
An anti-Semite will quote a Jew as an authority. Yeah.
Is it still the high score? I think it's still the high score, isn't it?
For domestic terrorism? Yeah. I mean, the other close one is the Pulse nightclub shooting. Although maybe that wasn't domestic, because that guy was like he wasn't American, but I guess he was said he was inspired by ISIS. So, but also I think he only got to like, I think it was like 115, which is wild. Wild to do with just a gun.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, like, have you ever seen the inside of a gay club?
You ever been inside of a gay club? Everyone's all lined up, butthole to butthole. You just shoot a bullet, you're gonna go through 15 fellas.
All right, I'm gonna like totally destroy my GPT algorithm for the next 3 days by asking. So yeah, Oklahoma City bombing still number one.
I mean, is the Oklahoma City bombing the number one terrorist attack that was planned by the government in the United States, or was it 9/11? Who knows? Who knows? Does coronavirus count? Does coronavirus count?
Yeah, what did you say? Is Oklahoma City bombing the highest death toll of domestic terrorist plots hatched by the U.S. government? Let's see what it says.
It's gonna say, that didn't happen, sir. That didn't happen. That's not how it went.
It's now citing Wendy Painting.
Amazing. Yeah. Already got there, Chat GPT. Thanks. All right. On June 13th, 1997, McVeigh was sentenced to death. Roger Charles, wrote that after his sentencing, all the members of the Jones defense team went out for margaritas, knew that McVeigh would take his secrets to the grave with him, including the identities of other conspirators. And he was happy to go down in history as the sole mastermind and lone executioner of the Oklahoma City bombing plot. As he feared, McVeigh was transferred to the Supermax prison in Colorado and began his appeals. McVeigh had Jones removed from his post-sentencing appeals team, although, as per his request, other formerly subordinate members of the Jones team continued to represent him, including, attorneys Rob Knight, Randy Coyne, Christopher Trentadue, and Dick Burr. In July 1999, McVeigh was transferred to the death row facility in Terre Haute, Indiana. In conversations with his biographers after his conviction, McVeigh reflected on his then ongoing appeals and callously stated that whether the state assisted his suicide or not, he had won. If he died, his trial had still demonstrated the corruption of the government, and if he lived, he further aggravated those who wanted him dead.
Suitably nonsensical.
Yeah. I don't really think the trial actually demonstrated the corruption of the government to the level that he probably would have desired. Right. Although I did see some Zoomers doing like today I learned the Oklahoma City bombing happened because of this thing called Ruby Ridge. Like, it's like watching someone looking at the opening to the rabbit hole immediately before entering.
Yes.
It's like, see you in 5 years. See you in 5 years, friend.
But part of you wants to stop and be like, and then you're like, no, you just let it go.
You could be a normie, but you have chosen the other path.
You appear right. You hold out the two pills for them.
Yes,
and
it's like, well, there's one. There are two ways this could go, friend. I know where I went. I eat slop in Zion.
Yes.
Neo, no, don't go back to eating steak and fucking hookers. You have to eat slop in Zion, Neo.
To be fair, he gets the smoking hottest woman in Zion. So
a tranny impersonating biological female is your idea of the hottest woman?
Look, we already know I'm a strange person.
You have strange taste in women. That's true. That's true. Oh man, blah. Yeah, Trinity, not hot. Not the hottest woman. I would probably go for Jada Pinkett Smith first.
No, look, because she doesn't seem hot, but if you dwell on her, she gets hotter.
Okay, I'll trust you. Kenneth, $4.99 says nothing. Thanks for the money, bud.
How do you decide to cut it off at 99 cents?
It's a little weird.
I mean, I'm down.
I appreciate it. It does feel like $5, and he has saved a penny.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, that's so true. Sloppy Joe Stalin, worst
I had
Sandbatch take.
so many worse takes. Like,
hey, every
if
day, every day is a new opportunity for a worse one.
If we get us to 10 super chats, we'll do an entire library of mass destruction on my worst takes.
Everyone gets 3D'd by the end. Like, you get triple D'd by Sandbatch coaling out of control.
Well, I have Gabe sit in.
Oh my god! I don't know that you guys haven't ever been on something together before, have you?
Never.
Oh god. Could be global implosion. I'm not sure, but I will have my finger over the mute button on that one. All right, let's see. Death row corruption. There we go. All right. In December 2000, McVeigh decided he would go to his death willingly and as quickly as possible. He successfully engaged in a precedent-setting legal battle with the state to prevent the autopsy of his body, ordered his attorneys to drop his appeals, and filed to have his execution date sped up. His request met with little resistance, and an execution date of May 16, 2001 was set. However, on May 11th, 2001, the FBI suddenly announced that they'd withheld several hundred investigatory documents that should have been turned over during discovery prior to his criminal trial. Attorney General John Ashcroft delayed the execution for 1 month, and as his attorneys tried to make sense of them, additional documents were released. These included reports about other possible bombing suspects. The FBI chalked up their withholding of the material to bad record keeping and praised themselves for doing the right thing and releasing the documents. His attorneys argued that they were not given enough time to inspect the ones they had and expressed their suspicion that there were likely additional documents where those came from. But McVeigh was not interested in pursuing the matter. Christopher Trentadue's explanation of McVeigh's stated reasons for giving up his appeals is consistent with the most widely known and commonly accepted account. Tim felt that if he won the appeal, all he would get would be life in prison in a supermax, where he's in an 8x10 cell 23 hours a day by himself. In other words, he would spend the rest of his life alone in solitude, and he just said, I don't want to live like this. So he stopped the appeals. Then, when he found out about the evidence of the government had not given us, he said, let's find out what it is at least. And so he authorized us to do what we did to try and stop the execution to see the evidence. And of course, we were denied at every step. And then right before we went to the U.S. Supreme Court, where we thought we might get a stay of execution, he ordered us to stop again. I don't think anybody wants to die, but he had resigned himself to the fact that this was his fate. So when he got ready to do it, it was time. He was resolute. The last time I met with him, he was sane. He was rational. He understood what he was doing. He knew why he wanted to do it. It wasn't something we felt we should argue with him about because he had a rational basis for the decisions he was making. And so we didn't try to intervene.
They read Jolly West kids book.
They read not Jolly West's kids book.
The book written by Jolly West kid.
Yeah. John West's book about murdering Jolly West. That's right. I don't know, man. Like it's so that's timeline is so fucking weird because it's like the attorney general's just like, oh, I don't know, let's give it a month. Like it has to be a pure optics play, right?
Okay, so now that we're in the McVeigh stuff, I want you to can you save your spot?
I can't actually.
Oh my god! My god! You're on page 109. I wanted to have you do a full text search for somebody.
It actually doesn't work right on this site. God. It fucking sucks. I know. Just download a copy of your own and Jamie it up for us.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I don't know. The timeline's fucking weird. It includes reports about other bombing suspects. I mean, and that was the whole point of the Jones team the entire fucking time. So, but whatever. This sets the stage for the coolest potential outcome. So, Bruce Jackson, seminal ethnographer of death row culture. I'm considered a bit of a seminal ethnographer myself when I do my sex tourism. I don't do that. It just sounds like what that would be. Anyway, of death row culture. Now, also, how are there enough people on death row for there to be a death row culture?
I was going to say, everything's a culture these days.
Yeah, everything's a culture.
Have you ever been to death row? Like, have you ever been to a death row?
Have you ever been to death row? Well, at least you could have the courtesy of going. Yeah, you know, it's not an actual row. It's just what they say. People who are on death row are all over the place. They're not lined up. They're not queuing for death.
They are, though. Like, okay, so like as for whatever reason, the prep school I went to thought it was be a great idea to bring us to. I think I've mentioned this before when we were talking about serial killers, because Derek Todd Lee was the one that I met, and they took us to the state penitentiary in Angola, and like one of this weird ass shit that we did was we got to visit death row, and like so it's like there's like, you know, like 25 like rich kids, and they just all like clamber into death row, and like we walked by the cells and look at them one by one like animals in a fucking zoo. It was wild.
Excellent. Sweet.
Yeah. So I've experienced death row culture before.
Yeah. Did they do that thing like from Silence of the Lambs where the guy jerks off and throws it and it lands perfectly in your hair?
No, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was like that's not too far off.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It was exactly that, but the guy had worse aim. That's the only difference.
Yes.
The only difference. Yeah. And Anthony Hopkins wasn't there to talk him into killing himself in the night.
No, but like there was a real live serial killer there, Derek Todd Lee, and he was just like walking back and forth, breathing heavy, like pacing.
Yeah. I mean, you think that they were like putting on a show for all the kids?
Yeah, almost certain. Sure.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Seminole ethnographer noted that since the 19th century, there have been 3 major changes in the United States capital punishment procedures. The first is the issue of mens rea, or the criminal intent or mind of the offender at the time of the offense, guilty mind, which became a factor in the sanctioning and legitimizing executions. As in, if you don't believe that you're doing something wrong, you can't. It doesn't rise to the level of killing you, right? So if you're insane, they don't kill you because you're not capable of volitionally committing a sin.
Look at me over here. It's a better reason to kill somebody.
Yeah, this is one of the best. Honestly, one of the best. Nick Land. Nick Land has many excellent tweets, obviously, but one of his best ones is that the fact that mental incapacity is a mitigating rather than aggravating factor is an indictment on the legal system.
Yeah.
Like if you are like a retarded murderer or an insane murderer, you should just be put down because you're incapable of modifying your behavior. You will recommit. You will reoffend. Like you should just be put down.
By the same logic, it's like killing a fish. Like they're going to be less aware of what's even happening to them.
Yeah, exactly. They should. And I mean, people are literally getting off from crimes. Not well. Yeah. Serial killers do literally get off from crimes, but people get let off and get given lighter punishments because they have like an IQ of 80. And then, I don't want to pull up my world map of IQs by country here, but that gets out of hand really fast. So, let's see. The second change involves the level of physical pain inflicted on the condemned and the time it took to induce their death, both of which were minimized over time. Finally, while criminal trials and sentencing hearings may be public affairs, criminals are no longer hung at the gallows in the public square for all to see. Big mistake. Rather, with the exception of select witnesses, prison officials, and the state's designated death dealers, the sanctioned killing of criminals has become a private matter. The act of putting criminals to death, wrote Bruce Jackson, is not televised, and yet, invariably, at least one of the officials interviewed informs the public how well or badly the condemned accepted the administration of death. I feel like firing squads should just come back.
South Carolina did that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah? How was it?
I don't know, but the reason, some states are returning because about the sodium thiopental shortage. It's the company that made sodium thiopental became anti-death penalty, and they refused to sell it to states. And then the states went to some other shit for lethal injections that didn't work, and that dude survived a lethal injection. And
how fucking hard could it possibly be?
Dude, yeah, dude, just shoot him up with pine saw or something. They'll die.
Fucking give him nitrous oxide.
But that's gas chamber, isn't it? What they I don't know what they use.
I mean, I think they probably just don't want a guy who who just laughs and laughs until he passes out and dies. They probably just don't. I mean, why not just fucking carbon monoxide? I don't, you know what I mean? There are a billion ways to fucking kill somebody. That they just go to sleep and that's it. It can't possibly be that fucking hard.
But yeah, no, they've some states have reverted to firing squad. Hydrogen cyanide is the one they usually use, apparently.
Cyanide gas?
Yeah.
That is painful. That.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just Aum Shinrikyo, a motherfucker. Anyway. The execution of Timothy McVeigh was both a mundane and exceptional act. In April 2001, a precedent-setting decision John Ashcroft granted about 145 survivors and victims' family members in Oklahoma City the privilege of watching McVeigh die live via closed-circuit television cameras. A media company unsuccessfully sought the rights to broadcast the execution live on the internet. Soon after, a U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals overturned a federal judge's earlier order to videotape McVeigh's execution for use as evidence in a different trial. McVeigh himself said he supported both the internet broadcasting and videotaping of his death. Based. Oddly, in late May 2001, about a week later, McVeigh's execution was delayed due to the FBI's release of the withheld documents. The front page of the Weekly World News announced "Dead McVeigh on morgue slab," complete with a large picture of McVeigh, eyes closed, mouth hanging open, allegedly dead. On June 6th, the still very much alive McVeigh mailed the tabloid cover and the accompanying article that discussed his death in the past tense, entitled "Exclusive Photo of Timothy McVeigh Will Rock America," to his biographers. In the accompanying letter, the last one he would write to them, he said he'd also sent a copy of the tabloid to the coroner's attorney, chastising them for leaking. Ironically, the letter, which he closed by drawing a smiley face, arrived in their Buffalo mailbox on June 11th, the morning of his execution.
Damn.
Amazing. Amazing. In the final months and weeks leading up to his death, McVeigh seemed to be acting himself. He joked around and was calm and in amazingly good spirits. According to partial prison logs released through the FOIA requests, with the execution just days away, he became restless. He watched television, mainly news coverage, paced in his cell, and, unable to sleep, tossed and turned in his bed, all the while smiling to himself. In the final 10 hours of his life, he simply stared at the wall, grimacing. According to Stephen Jones, his former client knew his final moments would become a matter of public record, and so, thus, as he had throughout his life, projected a facade of control. On the morning of June 11, 2001, swarms of media outlets and other spectators gathered outside the prison and provided extensive coverage of the execution, both inside and outside the prison, as well as from the site of the CCTV broadcast in Oklahoma City. T-shirts were sold with slogans like, "The worst is yet to come, McVeigh," "Hell," "Die, die, die," and "You are the weakest link, goodbye," above the image of two needles. How absolutely fucking cringe to make a reality, like a game show reference, like a short-lived game show reference for a more notable historic event. That is like perfect normie sadism, right?
Yeah. Oh
like,
man.
This is how I will relate this. This is how I will relate this execution to my understanding of the world. I'll relate. I'll vote him off the island. Sorry, you spun the wheel of fortune and got the bankrupt block.
I think it was a big thing at the time, though.
What?
I'm amazed he had a television.
What?
That they gave McVeigh a television, yeah.
Why would they give McVeigh a television?
Said he watched TV.
Did it say that he watched TV?
Yeah.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems, it's cruel and unusual not to give an American a television.
That's true.
That's what are you gonna do? I don't know. I don't know. Living your life out in Supermax. I don't know. It's better than being dead. It's better than being dead. Plus, you get to write letters back and forth. The Unabomber.
You gotta be. I mean, you have to be like Theodore Kaczynski tier interesting to really get the correspondence thing I want. I mean, like getting like sex letters from 18-year-old women probably gets old after a while.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're not married to your friends.
Right, yeah. In the words of Bob Dylan, inside the museum, infinity went up on trial,
What song is that?
Dark and poignant from Sandbatch over
dark
here.
Lyric. That's a dark lyric. What song is that from?
It's Visions of Johanna.
Interesting.
The next line is even darker. Voices echo. This is what salvation must be like after a while.
I realized that X Guy Extra sent this beforehand, but I'm just going to say the tribe has spoken for that one. All right. In the final months and weeks, wait, I know I already said this. At 7:00 that morning, prison officials drew back the curtain, allowing witnesses to see 33-year-old Timothy McVeigh, now much thinner, paler, and with circles under his eyes. You look like shit, man, although you're going to look worse in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was wrapped tightly in a light gray sheet and strapped to a gurney. The prison warden then read the execution order. An execution team in an adjacent room fed a series of 3 chemicals through intravenous tubes inserted into his right leg. Sodium pentothal to put him to sleep. Pancuronium bromide to paralyze him and stop his breathing. And potassium chloride to stop his heart. After receiving his lethal doses, the communicative terrorist looked pointedly towards the 2 witness rooms and into the CCTV cameras and nodded to the unseen witnesses, acknowledging their presence in what seemed an unafraid, satisfied, and twisted kind of pleasure. Many of those watching through the glass or on the remote telecast said they felt McVeigh's purposeful gaze focused on them personally. His unblinking coal-black eyes stared right through witnesses and, coupled with a totally expressionless blank stare, formed a cocky and proud look of defiance. McVeigh then stared blankly ahead for about 5 seconds, put his head back down, and stared stoically at the ceiling, appeared to fend off sleep, swallowed, blinked, went unconscious, and grew pale. His eyes glossed over. His lips turned white. His jaw quivered. His body twitched. And then, shortly before 7:14 a.m., his eyes, which remained open, rolled back in his head, his face frozen as blank and defiant in death as in life. He never apologized or expressed remorse. His final statement was an appropriation of a poem, declaring to the world that he was, in the end, master of my fate, captain of my soul. President George W. Bush agreed, telling the country that justice had been done and McVeigh had met the fate he chose for himself 6 years ago. He remains the only person executed for a terrorist act, although his crime is classified simply as moida.
That's a William Ernst Henley poem, and it's a pretty obscure one. Like it's like not like God. What do you think the final words of like the average person executed today? They're like, "Should you be shit, bitch? You live like this. I live like this all day."
Skibbity.
Yeah. This redneck from
one
fucking
final
nowhere
skibbity.
Yeah.
He's from Buffalo, New York. He was a New Yorker.
It's pretty rednecky.
It's not really rednecky. It's like
I've never been there.
It's the most Midwest part of New York.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So, I only know it as the city in the United States I would least like to live in.
Say that again. Buffalo is the city you'd least like to live in.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know what it's like there. It's just like I imagine it's fucking frigid.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, I guess you're a true Southern soul. I do like the cold. I like the cold. So yeah, just a bunch of wool clothing. It's a great way to live out 6 months of the year. Penultimo, you're right when you say one final skibbity would become as dated as the weakest link reference. That's so true. It's so true. And honestly, that just means that Library of Mass Destruction is not going to be evergreen content. People are going to look back on this after I've been doxxed and sentenced to death myself, and they'll say, man, skibbity reference. You can really tell this was made in 2025.
That's what he did it for.
Wow.
After I got doxxed, I went back and listened to my early podcast, and I was like, for this dark moment,
was it
there,
worth it? Was it worth it?
Yeah, send your super chats in.
Was it worth it?
MS Patulus says, first time catching live. What do you mean they killed Timmy? Yeah, well, welcome to the show. You've got the same effect I have on David. Same effect I have on David Lynch and the Pope.
That's true. That's true. Timothy McVeigh was actually alive until the first time Sandbatch came on, and then he died of old age. Oh my God, Sex Freakman.
Yeah.
Oh, your final words looking at the CCTV. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell.
Really helps me with the
algorithm. Oh, perfect. McVeigh had not been overly concerned about the FBI's last-minute release of withheld documents. He wanted to die, and by that point had said all he wanted to say. After the release of Stephen Jones's book, Others Unknown, in 1998, McVeigh began to write his tell-all confessional letters to Dan Herbeck and Lou Mitchell, his official biographers, who set about writing their book, American Terrorist, released just weeks before his execution. The book told the story of the Oklahoma City bombing as McVeigh wanted it told, and for the most part, the same story told by the government to the American people. In it, McVeigh was the lone wolf bomber who, alone, conceived of, planned, and executed the deaths of 168 people with the objective of righting the wrongs of a tyrannical federal government. Any minimal assistance he had during the preparation stage came from Michael Fortier and Terry Nichols, whom he cajoled, tricked, and finally threatened in order to gain their cooperation. Just like the Department of Justice claims, says the book, no investigative stone was left unturned and no mystery remained. American Terrorist remains the most widely cited account, both of McVeigh's life and of the bombing. However, behind the scenes, McVeigh was characteristically narrating and hinting at other very different versions of those details different versions whose details irreconcilably conflict with his official lone wolf story. In one of his earliest meetings with members of the Jones team, McVeigh expressed that while he intended to take full legal responsibility for the bombing and would therefore keep certain details of the plot a secret, even from them, he hoped that when all was said and done, the truth of the bombing would remain a mystery. His post-sentencing actions betray the fact that McVeigh had kept critical details secret and that the government would, for whatever reason, seek to do the same. His actions also indicate that, for whatever reason, McVeigh took steps to ensure that after his death, at least some of the secrets he so vigorously guarded would eventually surface. One example of this was his request made shortly before his execution to Bob Popovich, a friend of his from Michigan. He asked that after his death, Popovich initiate an effort to have all sealed court documents in his case opened up, telling him that if the effort was successful, a conspiracy would be uncovered. My gold was buried at...
Have you looked at Timothy? Have you ever looked at McVeigh's IQ?
No.
What would you ballpark it as?
115.
That's not very interesting. He seems more clever than that to me, but he was ballparked. He was registered at 126. It's
okay.
Like high midwit.
I'm one of them high midwits.
Yeah,
with his fancy degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. The his last words were, "The One Piece is real."
Oh, damn.
Yes. So true. Find my treasure, and thus began the great age of piracy. Perfect. Sandbatch, I know you're not a weeb, but that is a reference to a cultural treasure of fair Nippon.
Fair Nippon.
Yeah. So anyway, fuck, I lost my place. Oh, there we go. The messages he sent to Salt Lake City attorney Jesse Trentadue proved another example of this. In August 1995, Jesse received a call informing him that his brother Kenneth had committed suicide by hanging himself at the Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma City, bad beat, where he was being held after being picked up and imprisoned for a minor parole violation. Prison officials pressured Jesse to have the body of his brother cremated, even offering to incur the cost, contrary to standard procedure. The family declined, and when Kenneth's corpse was finally returned to them, they learned why officials had made such an unusual offer. The condition of his body revealed Kenneth had been brutally beaten and tortured. He was severely bruised from head to toe and suffered 3 major blows to the head. His face and the bottoms of his feet had been lacerated, the latter a common method of torture, and his throat had been slashed. Amazing what a man who had been picked up for a minor parole violation would do to himself. What a tragedy. I'm not sure how it relates.
Oh, the super chat. Sandbatch isn't a weeb. I don't believe it. And then, yeah, honestly, there's no way. I am on record calling for the death of everyone born in Asia.
Oh my God. ELC, yeah, Sandbatch isn't a weeb. Excellent, Sex Freakman. I took an IQ test. Thank God it came back negative. Very good. Very good. Lovely. Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, Sandbatch has only seen one anime, and it was on Drive Time Movie Night, and it was Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue, which is basically a Hitchcock film. So,
Yeah, I've seen one anime. I like Crunchyrolls, and I don't even like hibachi.
What? How do you not even like hibachi?
Just don't like it. Don't like having to fucking sit there and watch this Asian dude.
You don't like watching your food get cooked in front of you.
Yeah, no.
You don't like tricks. You don't like pageantry, Sandbatch.
Not about it. Like this is like fucking Japanese fondue. What the fuck is going on here?
Oh God. MS Spatula. I was reincarnated as a rider truck full of fertilizer isekai. I invite you to look at the thumbnail for episode 1 of LMD, which is Truck Kun's Big Adventure. So,
I know what a wait. I know you don't like anime, yet you know what a Crunchyroll is. Got him. I briefly dated a Japanese actress.
Excellent.
And that's how I learned. Yeah, that's how I learned.
Yeah, I briefly dated one as well, and then I married her. So,
oh really?
Yeah.
Like an actual Japanese?
Oh, no. Only genetically. Culturally, not at all.
Oh yeah. The Japan, they're like the fucking rare bird of the Asian bride like lineages, aren't there? Because there's only like 10 Japanese women.
What?
Yeah, there's only like 10 Japanese women in the whole world, and like all of Japan is fighting over them. It's the way I understand it.
I think you mean there's 9.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's 9.
Sir? Yes. Let's see here.
Oh no, I'm totally chronic. Like Sandbatch trying really hard to pretend he's not chronically on. I am totally chronically online, but I come from the Timothy McVeigh MK Ultra lineage of terminally online, not the weed pipeline. It's a different genealogy of terminally online.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, Sandbatch and I were discussing before the show how different our paths to our present interaction were, and like I did not really come from the Twitter sphere, so though I'm in it now, I guess. So
you're
I'm fucking in it.
You're stuck in here with us now. For me, it was literally my Grateful Dead addiction that got me here.
Interesting.
And it was because I got online relatively early on, back when actually Usenet forums were still active, and there was there was this huge Usenet like forums full of Grateful Dead fans, and that was how I met Owsley Stanley and Ken Babbs and became acquainted with MK Ultra. So like actually the MK Ultra thing is very adjacent to my onlineness. Like the Electronic Frontier Electronic Freedom Foundation, Electronic Frontier Foundation, John Perry Barlow, all those people, which actually is libertarian. So I guess I did have a libertarian phase.
Yeah. I mean, actually, so I was involved in libertarian politics, more than 10 years ago. And but when I was like 9, I had a subscription to 40 Times. So I've always been into this type of stuff. So
Cap started a political consultancy with Rachel Haywire in Kingman, Arizona. And
absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. Disavow. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm what you call a political fixer.
Yeah.
I make sure you win elections prior to the vote. That's not true. That's not even remotely what I do. But anyway, let's continue. In 2001, Timothy McVeigh contacted Jesse from death row and told him a strange story. Kenneth, McVeigh said, looked remarkably like ARA bank robber Richard Guthrie. Guthrie and Kenneth Trentadue were the same height, weight, and had the same color hair and eyes, the same facial hair, even had a nearly identical tattoo placed in the same location on their arms. Guthrie bore a remarkable resemblance to some of the John Doe 2 sketches, and he was suspected of having been involved in the bombing, at least temporarily, until the issue of John Doe 2s were dropped. The FBI, said McVeigh, under the mistaken belief that Kenneth was Guthrie, had sought to question him at the holding center. The interrogation had gotten horribly out of control and resulted in Kenneth's murder. Sure enough, after Guthrie was apprehended in connection with the bank robberies, he, like Kenneth, was found dead hanging in his cell. Only weeks before, Guthrie told a journalist that he planned to blow the lid off the Oklahoma City bombing investigation. Womp womp.
What a strange thing to say.
Yeah. At the time McVeigh relayed this, Jesse knew nothing about the bank. Yeah, if you're going to do that, just fucking tell them then. Just tell them that, right? Like, you've already been arrested. You just tell a journalist, I'm going to blow the lid off the Oklahoma City bombing.
The 90s makes...
Just fucking tell them.
The 90s makes so little sense if you, like... The way people went about doing things. I'm like, you don't know anything about how to fucking go viral. Oh.
Yep. At the time McVeigh relayed this, Jesse knew nothing about the bank robbers and only what he'd heard on the news about the bombing. But okay, here's the wildest fucking thing that could possibly occur to you, right? Your brother dies in 1995. 6 years later, you get a letter from Timothy McVeigh out of nowhere. Right?
I wonder what his handwriting looked like. I'm going to look it up.
Yep. It's he only wrote in crayon.
Yeah, so I'm kind of guessing we're going that way.
At the time McVeigh relayed this, Jesse knew nothing about the bank robbers and only what he'd heard on the news about the bombing, but soon set out to learn everything he could about both. McVeigh's tip ultimately set him on an investigatory trail that led Jesse to uncover mountains of additional buried and aggressively suppressed information about both his brother's death and the bombing plot. Included among these discoveries was the existence of PatCon. The details of the Trentadue story are explored in the postscripts of this book. We will not be reading those. Finally, according to David Paul Hammer, while McVeigh was telling his biographers the Lone Wolf story, although we could read them if we hit that super chat goal. That's right. Seamlessly going into a show.
Don't make me super chat us. Don't make me do it.
Me do it. Yeah, exactly. Finally, according to David Paul Hammer, while McVeigh was telling his biographers the Lone Wolf story, he was simultaneously narrating his guilty agent story to Hammer, with the understanding that Hammer would not disclose what was said until after his official biography came out after he was dead. It is a little interesting that McVeigh would even bother, like that he would even bother to send a letter to Jesse Trentadue. And I suppose the only way that, the way that I guess it makes sense is just that he felt it was unjust that Kenneth had died.
Right.
A complete mistaken identity, got murdered by the government, which seems like something that McVeigh, assuming that he really was motivated by Waco and Ruby Ridge, would have taken issue with, right? Anyway,
so here's a fascinating. Yeah. I'm looking at McVeigh's handwriting. It's nearly pristine. It's incredible, actually. It looks like it has I'll do a quick handwriting analysis because one of my in addition to being able to read natal charts, I can also do white girl woo analysis of handwriting.
You can present your screen, by the way.
Oh, can I?
Yeah, you can present that frame if you hit the present button.
Oh, is that changed? Did you do something to my? Oh no, I don't see it anymore. Oh yeah, there's let's see, Timothy McVeigh handwriting. Oh no, I'd have to pull the whole thing up. Anyway, he had great handwriting, and it had a slightly rightward slant, which strangely indicates emotional stability. Yeah. And his letter forms, he crossed his T's low, which is, however, indicative of cold-blooded liars.
Really?
Yeah.
Very interesting. I have I know nothing about handwriting analysis, but yeah, cool, interesting.
The penultimate says Sandbatch is secretly a white woman that's into true crime. I'm obviously somewhat into true crime because look where I am.
Yeah, that's right. This does count. This does count as true crime.
But I did last year for about 6 months date a woman that was into every schizo white woman fucking thing imaginable. So everything from astrology to tarot to
Christopher Sandbatch.
To Christopher Sandbatch to healing your inner child. She left a book that I still have called Existential Kink. And actually that's the one that has the handwriting section in it.
That's the book I'm reading right now.
Yeah.
If someone sends us a $200 super chat, we will read Existential Kink.
Or I might do that for free as soon as we're done here.
Terrible choice, but okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Thus far, previously published works, oral testimony, and archival documents have demonstrated the ways in which all of the competing narratives about McVeigh and the bombing originated with McVeigh, who told variations of them all prior to and after his death. After his arrest, sorry. Not after his death. Only afterwards were his stories expanded upon and circulated by other individuals and journalists and conspiracy theorists, with few exceptions. In numerous instances, perhaps most instances, those telling any one of the many conflicting versions did so without knowing that they originated with McVeigh. Also demonstrated are the ways in which McVeigh's many questionable stories, from Lone Wolf to Experimental Wolf and everything in between, were rooted in works of popular culture, shared public histories, collective subcultural knowledges, and most notably, his actual experiences. Among the most striking of these stories, or at least the strangest, is one about McVeigh's death, or rather his immortality. While speculative elements of this story were publicly told and circulated prior to his criminal trial, it was expanded upon immediately after his execution. On June 12, 2001, a story appeared on the internet entitled "The Big Bad Wolf is Dead," or is he? For years, said the internet post, there were rumors that McVeigh had been trained by the U.S. military to take a fall for the unexplainable. The trial was a show, and the execution would be faked, with McVeigh's full cooperation. He had been trained in part of an MK Ultra-like program to withstand his prison sentence, and told he would be given millions of dollars and a new face and a new identity and sent to South America if he cooperated with the public deception. Not South America!
Dude, I'm nostalgic for this kind of content, but for a total, you don't actually finish this paragraph.
Okay. In May 2001, perhaps in an attempt to repair the credibility damage done when they wrongly declared McVeigh dead weeks before his execution, Weekly World News announced Timothy McVeigh is alive. The CIA, said the tabloid, staged the terrorist's death, gave him reconstructive surgery, and set him loose to start his new life underground. In the months and years to come, such stories continued to proliferate.
Like, you all talk shit about boomers, but I love boomers. I love
Why
boomers,
do you love boomers?
For the most cynical reasons. And this is like people are really cynical. People are they're really nostalgic for this. And by the way, we're like fully in default friend territory here. Like, this is like all shit. Yeah, but this is like her shit. But I am nostalgic for this, like, because I mean, the end of the, like I said, the internet is thoroughly a fringe cultural force by 2001 here. And the majority of the people that are on the internet at this point in time, those, like, we don't realize this, they're fucking boomers. And it is like fascinating the shit that, like, because boomers, like, they're simultaneously,
but they're like Wozniak boomers. They're not like the average boomer.
Right. Yeah. But they still have this like strange boomer tendency to like believe they're wildly credulous, and they'll believe just about fucking anything. So it's just like, when was the John Teeter story? This has got to be around the same time as the John Teeter story was going.
I'm not sure. Maybe you could Jamie that up for us.
Do you know the John Teeter story?
I don't know the John Teeter story.
Oh my fucking god!
You know what? I may, but not. I may have forgotten the name because I'm actually pretty bad with names. But
it was between 1998 and 2001. Yeah.
All right, so go on. Lay it on us.
So the John Teeter. Okay, this was started in 1998. 2 faxes were sent to Art Bell about this guy who claimed to be a traveler from the time traveler from the future.
Okay, yeah,
know, and he ran this like he ran this like on the Coast to Coast like BBS forum. He ran this like narrative for like 2 years that just built up steam until he he started convincing more and more people that he was a marooned time traveler from a slightly altered timeline in the future. Yeah, it's wild. So like the same kind of shit is going on at the same time. The Weekly World News is claiming on one hand that McVeigh is dead, and then 2 weeks after his death, reversing their decision. And like the same people bit on the fake both times, you know?
I love the Weekly World News, and it's a shame that it really doesn't exist in its previous form.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I miss Bat Boy. Although apparently they made a movie like 2 years ago. So that like the Weekly World News brand was associated with a film that was made 2 years ago, because it's completely different people own it, obviously.
Oh my God, I forgot that John Teeter did. He described Waco-like events and frequently referred to Timothy McVeigh. Oh yeah.
Penultimate, very cute of them to think the feds wouldn't kill McVeigh anyways if that were true. Yeah, no shit, right?
Right.
It's so much easier to just fucking kill him. Yeah. The Fell for It Again award is an actual award for them. Yes. And Bat Boy had a musical, Sloppy Joe Stalin. I didn't know that, but I'm into it. I'll try to find it. I hope it wasn't just like some sort of like local theater production. I want the film. I want the artifact. Anyway, what is not widely known is that, as with all the other conflicting narratives about McVeigh and the bombing, McVeigh himself first voiced the essential elements of this apparently delusional story. The earliest trace of it that I have found occurred in August 1995 in a memo written by Randy Coyne. McVeigh, said Coyne, raised the possibility of a plea bargain. He said the government could use me for a special mission. They could say they executed me. They want to punish me. They wouldn't have to worry about losing me. While admitting the chances of this happening were remote, he insisted it was a possibility. It is unknown when the possibility that he would escape death first occurred to him, but by 2001 it grew beyond speculation and developed into his occasional stated belief. In 2011, Randy Coyne referred to this, the last guilty agent story McVeigh told, as the Bourne scenario, a reference to Jason Bourne, the central character of a series of spy novels written by Robert Ludlum and their film adaptations, the first of which was released in 2002. When the jury returned with the guilty verdict, McVeigh seemed stoic, forlorn, but didn't seem afraid. I think that for the most part, he was realistic. There were moments of, I don't know how to describe it, a psychiatrist would say there were moments from time to time when he entertained the delusion that there might be some way he would not be executed. There were delusions he had. He thought about the possibility of the Bourne scenario and talked about being a special agent, special assignment guy, and not being executed for the bombing. He sometimes mentioned he thought maybe they would pull him out at the last minute and fake his execution, and he would be placed on special assignment and used for something. That's something he talked about. He never articulated his reasons for saying that, just said that there were forces at work that might make that happen. Death row inmate David Paul Hammer, whose books Coyne was unaware of when he told me this, detailed McVeigh's legal efforts to prevent the autopsy of his body and his decision to give up his appeals. Hammer, though, ascribed a very different motive for McVeigh's decision than McVeigh's publicly stated, and the one most people accept. The prevention of the autopsy was one of the final steps necessary for McVeigh to complete his mission. At least that's what Hammer says McVeigh said. According to Hammer, who was unaware of the 1995 memo or Coyne's later statements about the Bourne scenario, McVeigh insisted his apprehension about the mutilation of his corpse was part of a script devised by the Major. Jolly on West, by the way.
The Major.
The Major is Jolly on West. Is the implication?
I'm going to call him the Major from now on. That's
You're never going to say Jolly West.
He's just the Major.
Just the Major.
The Major. But I was talking to the Major.
McVeigh seemed to genuinely believe that the bombing had been a legitimate mission on the scale of a military objective. He was not at all certain that he would be actually executed. One scenario envisioned by Tim had the Major or members of his team infiltrating the execution process and replacing the lethal drugs with alternate drugs designed to feign the appearance of death. McVeigh was adamantly opposed to having an autopsy on his remains, mainly because of this prospect. According to McVeigh, the CIA and other U.S. agencies involved in covert missions had developed drugs to create the illusion of death in the human body and disguise signs of life. Tim would be administered these drugs by his executioners, and once his body was released to his legal representative, a squad of medical personnel would revive him. He would then undergo reconstructive surgery and be rewarded for his efforts and loyalty to those he served. I don't know whether it was his paranoia or something more, but as McVeigh's execution date approached, he told me he wasn't sure he was going to die. This is far-fetched, but it does reveal McVeigh's mindset. The morning of June 11th, Timothy McVeigh walked past my cell here on death row and gave me a nod on his way to the death chamber. Sometimes I think about that moment. I still wonder if Timothy McVeigh was really executed at all. Nice. So, yeah. The Benadryl man needs me.
The setup here is remarkably good for a Timothy McVeigh was never executed.
Yeah. You think he dug his way out and he's living in Senegal?
The false he is dead story, and then it does. I mean, that would be an MK Ultra style setup, but this runs into sort of the catabolic problem where it's like, yeah, now he's dead. It's like he might not have died there, but he's dead. They killed him somewhere. It's just because you can't.
Maybe.
Oh, far be it from me to say this, but you can't leave a loose end dangling for that long.
It's a crazy loose end, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, the other thing is, what are they actually going to do with him, right?
Right.
What are they actually going to do with this guy? On the other hand, the U.S. government has definitely faked killing people before, right? Like, for example, I think it's pretty unlikely that the U.S. government killed Osama bin Laden, given that no evidence of it exists other than the testimony of the SEAL Team 6 guys.
I've never even considered that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You killed the head of Al Qaeda, the guy who's had a fucking target on his head for years, and then rather than take any pictures or provide any evidence at all, you just dump him in the ocean. That's how you do that. You don't put on a big show. I don't know. Seems fucking unlikely to me. Like, it just seems fucking weird. I do think Osama bin Laden died. I think he just like fucking died of kidney failure or something, because he was on dialysis. He was on dialysis for years. He's an old man. So he probably just fucking died, and then they took credit. How easy is that?
He could have been dead for God knows how long, and they just like waited until they needed the press story. Yeah. Oh man. Oh man. Yeah. Oh man. Oh man.
Yeah. And so the worst part of that story, the worst part of this means that the bin Laden compound probably didn't actually have a computer with a bunch of emulators on it with sick ass games that bin Laden was supposed to have been playing.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's the worst part. That's the worst part of believing that. You can't also think that that's real. Anyway, in 2010, attorney Christopher Trentadue commented on Hammer's claims. Trentadue, also unknowing of Coyne's earlier notations and observations, insisted McVeigh never made any such assertion, which understandably sounds outrageous to him. I don't believe for 1 minute that Tim made those statements. This is the first I ever heard about it. But look, knowing Tim the way I know him, that wouldn't have happened. I just don't believe it. Now, here's the thing about the autopsy, and this is one of the things I actually respect about Tim a lot, is that he did not want to be a martyr for anybody. He wasn't looking for that out of life. He didn't want his autopsy report to be all over the internet. Dear God, your cat is in heat.
She got spayed 14 years ago.
Well, she's still horny as shit. Jesus Christ.
She just makes fucking noise all the time. I was like, when she started, I was like, I hope they can't hear that. But they
Talkative cat.
Yeah.
Anyway, his ashes were scattered by Rob Nye, and Nye is the only person on the face of this earth that knows where those ashes were scattered. Nobody knows where it is. Rob hasn't told me or anybody else, and that was something that Tim wanted. He didn't want this place where neo-Nazis or whatever you want to call them would come and pay homage to him. He just didn't want it. He didn't want this autopsy that would live on beyond him. And he didn't want a final resting place that would become a shrine to weirdos or whatever. Of course, that also means that
hold on.
Timothy McVeigh's ashes could be anywhere. They could be
anywhere,
wherever you are.
I'd like that. Like Timothy McVeigh has like standards here. He's like, I don't want none of that neo-Nazi shit coming to my goddamn grave, boy. You know,
yeah.
There's guys all throughout the audience calling him a cuck right now. Like,
you know, I think that I think that maybe. So the secret is you have to kill 168 family members of federal agents or federal agents themselves, and then the path to Timothy McVeigh's ashes will reveal itself to you. It's a quest.
You've got to break.
You get to the grand line.
You got to break his record, and oh my God, we are about.
Don't do that. Not calling for that. Not calling for that. Yeah. I'm saying it. Wouldn't it be a funny story in fiction?
Wouldn't it be a funny story? It would be very funny.
This is how you unlock the quest line in the Minecraft. But it's at MEIN craft. Anyway. So let's see what we got here in the chat. Can't wait till Wendy gets to the point where John Cena announces McVeigh's death is compromised to a permanent era. Yeah, permanent end. Sorry. Yeah. The God. Oh yeah. Hold on. Well, we'll get that. Oh, that was Justin Moan's true plan. Justin Moan's true plan was that he thought that that he could just claim that the National Guard would join him. He could just order them to arrest Joe Biden. That was Justin Moan's real plan. He also planned to arrest Donald Trump. So Justin Moan was radicalized, or rather had his paranoias. I'm talking about him in the past tense, but he's still alive. He's still alive.
He's in the audience.
We
need some super chats,
he's in the audience. Yeah, come on, Justin. You're in prison, but let's use a little of that commissary money on your boys.
John Doe 2 through 6. We haven't got your super chat yet. Yeah,
give it to me on your give it to me from the commissary. I'll make sure you still get your honey buns. But no, Justin Moan was radicalized by his student loan debt, actually, which is like the lamest possible focus for your paranoid delusions. So
they're not even paranoid.
What do you mean?
I mean, these are just real things. Isn't that what Luigi was going off? Isn't that what Luigi went off about too?
No. Luigi was about healthcare costs.
Oh, now there's a dumber one. We found a dumber one.
Yeah.
Nobody told Luigi. Of course, you don't have to ever pay your student loans off either. You can just not pay that shit. Same thing with healthcare.
Well, if you want to have other money, you do have that one hack of just like being destitute.
Yeah.
So
it's always worked for me. Send your super chats. Okay, I'm gonna stop now.
God. Okay. McVeigh gave very similar reasons to his biographers about his decision to forego an autopsy and the cremation of his body. Then again, Trentadue had no knowledge of McVeigh's Army medical records, the real findings of the team's mental health experts, or his ongoing physical deterioration while in prison. When asked about all of these, he said McVeigh appeared healthy to me and had no physical or mental health problems that he knew of. In fact, in conversations with members of the legal team, the phrase "that I know of" appears often, many times followed by a disclaimer about the highly compartmentalized structure of the defense team. Trentadue handled aspects of the case relating to physical evidence, such as fingerprints and chemical traces. The legal defense efforts of the Jones team, he said, generated a mountainous body of documents, probably 1 million documents in Tim's case, and added, "I probably read about 10,000 of them, but the only person on his own defense team that read every document in the case was Tim. No one member of the Jones team had been privy to all of the information produced." Well, that's why he fucking lost. Anyway.
See, this is the Jones team. This is what I'm interested in, because I used to work for a lawyer named Frank. Not Frank. Kirk Lyons, and I'm curious if he's mentioned in this book anywhere. That's the reason I was going to ask.
Oh, interesting.
He's sort of famous. The only thing you'll find out about a lot about him on the internet. He runs the Southern Legal Defense. Oh my God, for all the shit that you think he does. And he was gifted a bride by the Aryan Brotherhood for his like legal service to the gang.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
Has she produced many sons?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, good job on that.
Great family. They live in North Carolina.
Nice. Let's see. Further, without exception, all former members of the Jones team that I spoke with, investigators and attorneys alike, claimed that more so than any of the others on the team, they knew McVeigh best, were closer to him, and had gained his real trust. Therefore, they each had special insight the others did not have. No matter who was closest to McVeigh, or who, if anyone, McVeigh trusted, Trentadue seemed to trust McVeigh, as evidenced by his suggestion that if you really want to understand Tim McVeigh's psyche, read American Terrorist. Of course, given the leaky nature of the Jones team, for McVeigh to admit to anyone other than a select few individuals his belief that he might get snatched up and reassigned rather than die would undermine the intended message of the bombing and transform his political act into a random act committed by a crazed, delusional maniac. What sense can be made of this, the last story McVeigh would tell? An essay by Benjamin Beit Halami, published in a textbook series entitled Psychology of Terrorism, offers one possible interpretation. The essay concerns beliefs about immortality held by groups and individuals, specifically in the context of apocalyptic end-time scenarios. We are fucking cooking now. Here, after a series of cataclysmic, supernaturally driven events, select individuals and groups will experience rebirth, either metaphorically or literally, through resurrection. Reinvention of the self, says Beit Halami, is not only bite salami. Bite a salami. That's right. That's what we're going with from now on. Is not only a fundamental element of the American dream, but also a universally shared hope of escaping and transcending one's destiny and identity. According to him, apocalyptical beliefs about immortality involve a type of magical thinking that often begins in response to dramatic personal events. Certainly, McVeigh was facing a dramatic destiny he might have wanted to escape. A related but less religiously centered explanation is that McVeigh suffered from Cotard delusions, a clinical term referring to an individual's belief that they are already dead, and in less frequently seen manifestations that they are immortal. Both variations are associated with depression and psychosis caused by neurological or other physiological dysfunction, or alternately appears as an attempt to quell overwhelming existential fears, especially those about one's own death. According to acclaimed forensic psychiatrist Dorothy Otnow Lewis, a belief in one's immortality and the denial of one's eventual death results from the unique logic of dissociation, which itself is comparable to the logic of dreams. Individuals traumatized by witnessing the death of others or experiencing prolonged fear may display ambivalence about their lives and the lives of others, a preoccupation with or increased interest in death, unrealistic magical understandings about it, a heightened sense of invulnerability, and fantasies about having some special protection or exemption from it. McVeigh's ongoing claim that he might not die at the time of his execution is a belief seen not only among the religious, but also the traumatically dissociated, both of whom sometimes believe that even if they appear dead, they will somehow escape actual death.
That's a remarkably common one. Have you ever seen those like old Victorians that would put like bells in their coffin because they were afraid of being buried alive?
Yeah, classic.
You probably got one of those. You probably have one of those as your doorbell, don't you?
That'd be hilarious, but no, I don't. No, I've just got a regular
ass doorbell.
Regular ass doorbell. One of them ones with the push button, but no camera. I don't need Jeff Bezos looking at me.
EL over here, disassociation is just like dreaming, says Sandbatch to the E-Girl. That's what the E-Girl said to me, actually. So So
disassociation is just like dreaming, says the e-girl to Sandbatch in Sandbatch's delusion.
Y'all are getting to know me too well.
It's are we, or is this all going on in your head?
Or is this oh god, there's so many ways this could be going on.
That's right. On another level, the use of the name Bourne scenario for McVeigh's strange beliefs should remind us of key elements found within other stories he told about himself, some of which other people came to believe as well. Furthermore, whether factually true or not, the Bourne scenario helps to explain why such stories exist in the first place. Jason Bourne, the fictional protagonist. Now we're going to get the full plot of the Jason Bourne series to the date of the release of this book. The fictional protagonist of 3 Robert Ludlum novels from 1980 to 2001, 7 novels written by others after Ludlum's death, and several film adaptations, is an alias adopted by American Foreign Service officer David Webb, whose family is killed by the U.S.'s bombing of Cambodia during the Vietnam War. Afterwards, the CIA inducts Webb into a secret special forces unit called Medusa, essentially a fictionalized version of the real-life Phoenix Project death squads. His assignment is to assassinate suspected Viet Cong organizers and collaborators. In the course of his mission, he assassinates a double agent named Jason Bourne. Webb eventually becomes part of a CIA black op called Treadstone, at which point he begins to use the name Jason Bourne as his primary alias, of which he has many. In the novels, Bourne is tasked with establishing a legend by taking credit for acts of terrorism and assassinations in order to lure and catch a real terrorist. In the films, Bourne's assignment consists of spying on and assassinating select targets, including the leaders of other countries. At some point, a fisherman finds Bourne, who has been shot in the back and left for dead. Bourne has total amnesia, no memory of what has happened to him, his name, or his past. As the fisherman tends to Bourne's wounds, he finds a device implanted under his skin. The device contains coded clues that Bourne follows in an attempt to find out who he is. Along the way, he finds a stash of passports and other forms of identification, all in different names but bearing his picture, including one in the name of Jason Bourne. Sandbatch?
Great movies.
Where's your passport suitcase?
I actually lost my passport like 2 months ago, and I'm actually stuck in the United States right now, and it's driving me up the fucking wall.
Yeah. I've never had a passport.
Wait, you've never left the country?
I've never left the country.
Interesting.
I've never been outside of the United States.
Yeah,
this is docs information. I can hear you typing it.
No,
you're adding it to the file.
It's not even a very good constraint. Remarkably few Americans have passports.
Why would I leave the greatest country on the planet?
Well, I like to go to Mexico sometimes.
I don't like Mexicans here. I don't like going there.
I don't like Mexicans here, and I don't like
going there. Actually, I don't really mind. I don't really mind the Mexicans, to be honest. In terms of the Central Americans, although my favorite Central American is in the chat. So, yeah.
Sandbatch blaming all his bad takes on random ex-girlfriends. Yeah, I kind of do that.
You're quoting my favorite Central American. Yeah. Sandbatch blaming.
So it's not penultimo; it's penultimo.
Penultimo. That's right. Yeah. So here we go. Cap will surely get his passport once he visits me in El Salvador.
In El Salvador.
El Salvador. I will be greeted like an old friend by Penultimo, who is secretly Nayib Bukele's handle.
I am repeatedly applying to El Salvador for one of those passports that Nayib Bukele has given out to artists. I'm like, listen to my podcast, man. Listen to my podcast, and you'll fucking want me, man. I'll be your top guy, man.
I'll be your very own Groiper. Oh, you'll get an American Groiper. Wouldn't you like that?
Bukele Groiper.
Naib, you're half Palestinian. Don't you hate the Jews? You gotta talk up you gotta really like lean into the Southern accent. Although that's not even one that you have. You gotta go for like the Alabama. You gotta go for the Alabama accent. The Mobile Bay.
I have
drawl.
the New Orleans dialect is the one I have actually.
I know. Well, not the what you not the yat. You don't have the yat, right?
There's a little bit of it in there. If you can look, you like see, I'm not disguising it right now. You can hear a little bit of it in there.
I don't know. I think you're maybe affecting it.
No.
Hey, yat.
It's not really a yat. It's not. They don't really sound like that. But the actual yat is it's way heavier, much heavier.
Yeah.
You can hear it when I say things like I say rough instead of roof.
Up on the rough.
Yeah.
It's just a New Jersey accent. That's it. That's the whole thing. Anyone who wants to know the Yat accent should just read John Kennedy Toole's Confederacy of Dunces, because his mom speaks in a perfect Yat.
You think it sounds like one and I had a moment about 6 months ago where I was talking on the phone to somebody that had a really there it was. That was like, you know who actually does have a really heavy one in person? Charlemagne does.
Interesting.
But I was talking to somebody that has like a real Yat accent, and there was a guy sitting behind me that was from New Jersey, and he started talking, and I heard them in close phase with one another, and there's a little bit of similarity, but you can definitely tell they're different.
Interesting. Let's see. Wood Pit 420 Warsh. Warsh is that's actually a Midwest. There's a few places that do it, but a lot of them are in the Midwest.
Warsh, so most of the Southern dialects. So did you hear how I said that Southern? So that's most of the Deep South accents are non-rhotic. So so Warsh doesn't. We actually take all of the R's out of the interior of our words, and so it's like wash. But you see,
so if you're hyperrhotic and you're just adding random R's, it's like so a lot of people don't know this, but Harry Truman had that accent.
Yeah.
He had a hyperrhotic dialect, and he was from like Kansas City. So
yeah, I associate it with like the interior Great Plains, and then with the Tidewater in Virginia. So you heard how I said Tidewater? That's a deep Southern way of saying water. They'll say water, Tidewater.
Yeah. Hey, say that. Say the thing that comes out of Mammaries.
Milk.
Oh, yeah. That's. I do.
But you see, I did it there. I added an H. I added an H, so it's like milk.
Milk. Yeah. Milk. No, you aspirated it.
Yeah. The characteristic deep Southern
Southern accent.
It's called schwa. It's called schwa relaxation. So what we'll do is, and I'm doing it here kind of a little bit effectively, but all the internal vowels in the middle of a word, especially unstressed vowels, will get bled down to just a
all the vowels in the middle of a word will just get laid out like they're under the hot sun on a day
like literally
humidity.
Imagine English
like getting laid on by a horse.
Horse. It's like English if all of the effort in producing the sounds were removed.
So milk is Midwestern, but it's Western Midwestern. All the people I know who say milk are from like Nebraska. But I have not revealed where my dialect is from. I have a mostly American media standard accent, but my actual derivation does sneak out sometimes. So eventually,
the vowels pop out there.
A canny linguist will at some point figure out where I'm from.
You would already be pinned to the wall if I knew Midwestern dialects as well as I do Southern ones, but I don't.
My the professor who taught me linguistics, like my intro to linguistics professor, figured out, based on having me read a test phrase, where I was from to within 15 miles.
Yeah, I can do Southerners. I can usually do Southerners to within their county.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. I feel like it's probably easier in like Louisiana, where the sort of mixtures of Creole and Cajun.
Outside of New Orleans, and like outside of New Orleans, there are only really two dialects in Louisiana. But inside New Orleans, there are
one of
7.
them starts with an N.
Yeah. So there's 3.
All right. Wonderful.
Wendy.
Yeah. Anyway, over time, he meaning Jason Bourne, learns of his previous but unremembered role as the first subject in Operation Treadstone's experimental behavioral modification assassination training program. An encounter with the doctor who oversaw the experiments triggers Bourne's recovery of some of these memories. Throughout the series, Bourne endlessly relives his previous life through painful flashbacks and must live on the run, hunted by other CIA assassins, former government programmers and handlers who relentlessly seek to kill him in order to tie up Treadstone's loose ends and keep it hidden from the public. Bourne is able to stay alive only by the killer instincts installed in him throughout his Treadstone training. Although Treadstone has been terminated, Bourne learns of its successor, Operation Blackbriar, a CIA assassination program that targets U.S. citizens and is run by the agency's counterterrorism division. As Bourne sets out to expose Blackbriar, the hunt for him escalates. The advertisement for the 2012 film The Bourne Legacy reads, "Welcome to the program." Bourne does not appear in this installment. Rather, he has become the prototype for other better constructed and controlled professional assassins and or patsies, created under Blackbriar's successor, a DoD covert program codenamed Operation Outcome. As it turns out, many of the former Treadstone/Blackbriar operatives suffered a range of debilitating physical and psychiatric symptoms, including depression, uncontrolled outbursts of anger, obsessive-compulsive tendencies, and headaches. This, in combination with the rogue actions of Bourne, a malfunctioning $30 million weapon, led to the creation of Outcome, a program that culls its subjects from active duty Army personnel, transforming them into lone wolf super soldiers and spies through genetic modification and highly addicting, physically and mentally enhancing pills. All Outcome operatives are implanted with tracking chips, including the protagonist, Aaron Cross. I've actually never seen any of these movies. I've never seen a single one. So this is like just being explained to me now for the first time. And it
she's over my head too.
It seems like every single one of the movies has the same plot.
No, Gabe.
There's another program to follow on the previous one.
No, Gabe, you didn't miss Gabe asked, did he miss the Jolly Knockers? And not only did he not miss them, but if he sends 3 super chats, we'll do a whole show on him.
We'll do a whole show of Jolly West primary source readings. That's right. The film depicts an Operation Outcome created brainwashed mass shooter and host of villains, including the CIA, military, pharmaceutical companies, and scientists and mental health professionals with questionable ethics who act as shadowy controllers. Oh, all of the real villains. One of them, a cruel government psychologist, programmer, interrogator, masquerades as a grief counselor in order to cover for his programming of human subjects. That's what all grief counselors actually are. Just by the way, if you're ever experiencing grief,
every single one,
it's a cruel government psychologist, programmer, interrogator. Be careful. Let's see. After the public learns of Treadstone and outcome, the FBI and Senate hold investigations, causing the project's overseer, an Air Force colonel, to order the elimination of all outcome test subjects and field agents through lethal injections containing a genomic targeting virus. A number of thematic parallels exist between the fictional Bourne stories and the purportedly non-fictional stories told by the media about certain plagues, by and about McVeigh. The brief exploration of which may help to shed light on, or perhaps ironically further confuse, the reasons they appeal to groups and individuals.
Wait, what year was this? This is before COVID, isn't it?
It was
2016, right?
It was long. It was 2016. So this is not only pre-COVID, this is pre-Donald J. Trump. Yep. Jason Bourne suffers from dissociative fugue. As noted, traumatic dissociation is an affliction generally resulting from extreme stress, sometimes coupled by physical injuries such as neurological damage, after which, in pronounced cases, an individual may lose their autobiographical memories and sense of identity. In a dissociative fugue state, this occurs suddenly, and the dissociated person travels to other geographical regions, the fugue meaning flight. Fugues can last hours, days, or months. In cases of prolonged fugues, the person relocates and lives under a different name, under the belief they are that person, until suddenly they remember who they really are, but lose all memory of the dissociated pseudo-life they've just led. The craziest thing about fugue states is that there are people who have had fugues and gone and found someone and started a family, and then a year and a half into it, they just snap out of it.
The schizo woman that I dated almost did that. She lived in Memphis under an assumed name for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what they say about assumptions?
They make an ass of you.
Whoa. EL. I had an ex that did this. Wow.
More common than you might think.
That's wild. I mean, fuck, for all we know, it's the same one.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you couldn't even verify. You couldn't even.
I was going to say, they could be two totally different stories.
Oh my God. Actually, EL dated for a year, and I reached out a few months later, and she said she forgot. I don't know, man. I think maybe you just got ghosted. Brutal.
No, I'm with it.
No. Yeah. You could have.
I'm here to validate your experience, Mr. EL.
That's wild. Oh man. The first clinically documented case was recorded in. You said. Let's see. No. It was after a breakup. Okay. So you broke up, and then she was just like, I don't remember dating you ever. That's wild. I don't know. That kind of sounds like just some psycho. That sounds like some psycho manipulative shit in a completely different way, maybe. Yeah. The first clinically documented case was recorded in 1891 and involved a man named Reverend Ansel Bourne. Other documented dissociative fugue states have involved Vietnam veterans, described by them as going bush. One assumed the identity of that really sounds like an Australian slang. Doesn't it? Doesn't that sound like an Australian slang for camping?
I was going to say sounded like the name of my ideal girlfriend.
Going bush. What? One assumed the identity. Man, I know multiple dudes who are really into fragrances, and goddamn, I don't know, too much for me.
What kind of fragrances you mean? You mean like
bush. I mean like bush stank. Yeah.
Yeah.
One assumed the identity of a friend recently killed in combat. Although true dissociative fugue is uncommon, amnesia and dissociation in general, and fugue states specifically, are a long-standing element in fiction. Hollywood's government-trained operatives and assassins frequently fall victim to the seeming occupational hazard of forgetting who they are and what they've done. In both fictional and real life, however, with the dissociative fugue state of amnesia, the show reel of personal life malfunctions and narrative gaps infiltrate the story. Ludlam's creation of Jason Bourne in 1980 followed a deluge of revelations in the mid to late 1970s about the U.S. government's Cold War covert actions, including sanctioned assassinations and the effort to create amnesiac assassins to carry them out. After Bourne forces the public disclosure of Treadstone, a CIA official who believed the program had been terminated laments that he'll have to face an oversight committee and asks what he's supposed to tell them. He solves this by having the director of Treadstone killed and lying to the oversight committee, telling them the project had simply been a training program that was ultimately economically untenable and scrapped. Thereby, the full scope and activities of Treadstone remained undisclosed. Both the novels and the films highlight the futility and compromise of congressional oversight investigations and committees, which tend to learn just enough to assure the public that the threat has been uncovered, unsavory goings-on have been documented, and the problem corrected. This way, and through this process, narrative gaps about the covert workings of the state infiltrate and remain dissociated from American history. Yeah. Oh man. EL with the deep lore here. She would dissociate constantly. Her eyes would get all glossy and she would stumble around. She had really erratic emotions. She'd go from crying hysterically to giggling in a split second sometimes.
All right. Was she from San Francisco?
Oh no. Although I was about to say what Sex Freakman said, which is what I'm hearing. Is
no. You're not wrong either. It's just like woman confirmed and that sort of thing. But like it actually is because Ellie was very similar to this. And
no, so not the same one. Turns out there's more than one woman.
Yeah, I mean that's like actual schizophrenia is what that is, and it's marked whenever it's like the difference is marked. Like they go into the bathroom and they come out with their eyes glossed over and their jaw locked up and they're just a totally different person. It's wild. Unless I should be on a list. Well, actually I don't really get interested in women until they're like 28, 30. So that's true. Even when I was much younger, I liked women that were like at least 30.
Sandbatch confirmed hag maxer. just like a zoomer.
I like them. I like them just as their ability to get just anything they want from a man by looking at them wears off, and I like to catch them in that.
Catch them as they fall.
Yes.
Amazing.
That's how you get that second D in there.
That's how you get the dependency. Yeah. That's right. Okay. Somewhere in here is let's see. Psychiatric literature outlines the case study of a Vietnam veteran who witnessed the death of his platoon leader and the killing of a Vietnamese boy soldier in 1968. That is boy-soldier is the least bad possible thing that could start with boy and then be followed by a hyphen. Like it is the possible scenario. In 1968, who began experiencing recurring dissociated fugue states. These continued intermittently for 20 years until the late 1980s, often after stressful life events. Finally, in 1991, his wife saw a television show about animals who were tracked for research purposes by matchbox-sized homing devices. She suggested her husband also be outfitted with one, which he was, and that, while not preventing future occurrences, seemed to reduce the stress his fugues caused her. The authors of the case study hope that this innovative application of biotechnological advances to psychiatric practices would, with advances in telecommunications, lead to the use of smaller, simpler, and cheaper tracking. She just shoved an air tag up his ass one day. Like that's what they're doing now. The Bourne of the post 9/11 era and his successor in the Bourne legacy, Aaron Cross, must contend with, avoid, and even co-opt persistent global surveillance networking systems. Borne and Cross traverse a frenetic gamut of electronic spyware and computerized mapping. Magnetic remote trackers, security cam footage, CCTV cameras, GPS tracking, cell phones, biometrics identifiers, drones, and a host of other now mundane technologies, including those implanted in the very bodies of the hunter turned hunted. Similar to McVeigh's Orwellian reversal, viewers engage in a fantasy in which the very technologies the heroes must confront offer the ways and means of resistance. While Jason Bourne did not appear in the Bourne Legacy, he is expected to in the newest Bourne film, to be released in 2016. Actor Matt Damon, who plays Bourne, explained that the new film takes place in a post-Snowden world and will touch on issues about spying, civil liberties, and the nature of democracy. Hey, kids, do you remember Edward Snowden? You remember him? That guy? Anyone heard
Edward
from him?
Snowden.
Edward Snowden.
What was it? I was thinking, I was being so. It's like, hey, don't hear much about Dime Square anymore. But it's like, no, nobody remembers that shit. Nobody remembers anything anymore. Ed Snowden, are you out there?
Is Julian Assange still under siege in some random embassy?
I think he's dead, isn't he? He's either dead or freed.
Yep. Who knows? I'm not going to look it up. So.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Yes. Owen Zaleski, ancient Giga Chad meme. Very true. In the Bourne Legacy, Cross has it a bit worse than Bourne, facing only the erosion of the private will by surveillance and brutality, but of organic biogenetic tampering and the secret interventions of neurobiology. Although he is not subjected to genetic tampering, in a sense, Jason Bourne's body is never entirely his own, and as far as his employers are concerned, is nothing more than government property, a multi-million-dollar investment. There's a couple times where they've mentioned the price of things, and the idea that government bureaucrats running a black ops program would give a shit about how much stuff costs is the most fantastic portion of this, right? Like, this guy costs blah 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 blah. Like, who? You don't care. Like, you don't care. Why do you even know that, right? It doesn't matter at all. Anyway, the fact that Bourne and Cross have been technologized through implanted tracking devices render their bodies an even costlier investment. While Bourne must decipher and follow clues left by his now dissociated body, as well as the clues left within it, in the form of his microchip, Cross divests himself of his chip by placing it in a wolf, thereby making the wolf a sacrificial decoy. The Bourne stories, like McVeigh's Bourne scenario, resist closure by including seemingly infinite layers of conspiracies and cover-ups, which, when revealed, lead only to revelations about ever more disturbing ones. This book's final disturbing revelation about McVeigh may well provide fuel for existing and future narrative fires about Mick Bourne, or whatever Manchurian candidate comes next, and concerns Alan Dorhoff, McVeigh's lead executioner, and his specially chosen team of death dealers. Well,
I never liked these movies very much for some reason.
Really? Why is that?
Did you? I don't know.
I mean, I never watched any of them. I had literally haven't seen.
They're very disorienting.
There's like 4 of them now, right? 5?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any of these films.
I can see Wendy going absolutely ham on them though. Like,
yeah,
she's probably watching one of them right now with her vibrator or whatever it is she does.
You know what movie did this before the Bourne films and is actually like kind of forgotten? Enemy of the State.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
It's like Will Smith's best action movie.
Yes. Yes.
And they did it in like 1998 or something. I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
I feel like the first Bourne movie came out, it had to be like around then.
Hold on. Enemy of the State, IMDb, 1998. I fucking got it dead on.
Got it. Nailed it.
It was Borne. The Borne. What the hell is the first one called? Not the Bourne Legacy, the Bourne Identity. 2002. 4 years, 4 whole years. Later. Yeah, 4 more years for them to release the Bourne Identity. So yeah, an enemy of the state basically did all this shit. For some reason, Wendy didn't mention it.
No,
what?
It's not good.
No,
I thought my camera, because my little light thing is on, my camera is on. I was like, oh my
God.
It's just
because your meat's out. Yeah, I got it.
Matt
Anyhow. Right.
Damon's not too old for Bourne movies now, Sean, my Mac. You fucking shut your goddamn mouth.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember the last movie I saw him in it, actually. Or I can't remember the last movie.
He's going to be in. I think he's going to be in the new Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. So,
The Odyssey or whatever.
Oh my fucking God! Right? Yeah, that. Oh Lord. Okay. Well,
isn't he playing Odysseus? I think he is.
Worst casting decision ever.
No,
that's crazy. Anyway, in 2007, Dorhoff, a Missouri physician, gave testimony at a closed trial concerning the illegality of an impending execution that violated the 8th Amendment against cruel and unusual punishment. The trial revealed that Dorhoff, who testified under the name John Doe 1, had been the subject of over 20 malpractice suits. His right to practice medicine had been revoked at 2 hospitals, and he had been reprimanded by a state board for concealing this information, all prior to his execution of Timothy McVeigh. Well, I mean, how can you fuck up that, right? Dorhoff testified that for years, he designed and carried out execution protocols for the state of Missouri without consulting anyone. During one execution, he reduced the dose of anesthetic by half because he said it was difficult to put the entire amount in the syringe. And Dorhoff was
so wild. Oh my God.
Wow. That is absolutely brutal.
This is like as he puts a cigarette out in the McDonald's ashtray, you know.
I mean, honestly, yeah. How hold on. How fucking hard could it possibly be to kill somebody? Right? Like, how fucking hard could it be to fucking kill somebody? Oh God. I just Googled this guy's name, and the first response is an article from 8 days ago that says, "Who are the death row executioners? Disgraced doctors, suspended nurses, and drunk drivers."
Damn.
Amazing.
A forthcoming monograph by Wendy Painting Phd.
Oh my God, no kidding. Okay, yeah. So he was the chief executioner from 1995 to 2006. And he was responsible for 54 of Missouri's 65 executions. I mean, good, respectable body count, Dorhoff. Anyway, it was difficult to put the entire amount in. When Dorhoff was asked about the exact doses of lethal drugs he typically used, he responded by saying, "I am dyslexic, so it's not unusual for me to make mistakes." And he added, simply not good with numbers. When asked if he used calculations to determine lethal dosages of drugs he administered, Dorhoff exclaimed, "Heavens no." I mean, look, honestly,
we used to have a real country.
We used to have a proper country. Honestly, he's a doctor who's supposed to kill people. Like, how you should find the worst doctor. He is clearly the worst doctor.
He's like, right. Yeah, so clearly now he's not really concerned about a lot of shit that he was taught in med school, you know?
Yeah. How did this guy get through med school? But I mean, I don't know. I guess he did, and I guess for some reason we need a doctor to kill people on death row. So he's the guy. You know,
that's what happens when you let women vote right there. You start coming up with crazy fucking rules like you need a doctor to legally kill someone.
Yeah. Yeah. Wood Pit. Okay, this is like he's fucking with the reporter. Yeah. It's like, For the most part, Doerhoff continued, he simply made up procedures as he went along and admittedly sometimes mixed up the names of the drugs he used to kill people. Despite his dyslexic disadvantage and poor math skills, he insisted he could always tell when he'd properly anesthetized an inmate by watching them through the cracks in the blinds behind a glass window. Doerhoff had conducted some of his Missouri executions in the dark with only a flashlight and a team that often included non-medical people who had never, like him, right, who had never handled a syringe in their lives. Among those on McVeigh's execution team was a man who, although a registered nurse, had an extensive criminal record that included acts of violence and threats of violence. He had to seek permission from his probation officer to leave the state of Missouri in order to help Doerhoff kill McVeigh. Doerhoff's professional shortcomings also included poor record-keeping practices, which made investigations into his previous executions nearly impossible. Well, that doesn't actually seem like a shortcoming from his perspective. Now, does it? Because it made investigations into his poorly performed executions impossible. So, Dr. Mark Heath, a Columbia University anesthesiologist, became one of the foremost experts in lethal injection after McVeigh's 2001 execution. His interest began when he read that McVeigh's executioners used what sounded to him like a bizarre and nonsensical combination of drugs, and that McVeigh's eyes leaked tears after receiving his doses. This indicated to Heath not that McVeigh became sad, but that Doerhoff failed to administer the proper dose of sodium pentothal. In fact, said Dr. Heath, Doerhoff didn't know what he was talking about when it comes to the use of sodium pentothal, the drug used to induce sleep and render the death painless.
See, this is the really controversial one. Sodium thiopental is the one that always it doesn't make any sense to me why they use this cocktail of 3 drugs whenever you could just inject them with cyanide and they would die instantly. But we've had this instance, if you recall this story so far where the chemical is injected and then McVeigh lifts his head and he looks up defiantly and he does this thing. There's no reason there should be any lapse time between injection and death. None. It should be instant,
Yeah. Shouldn't, I don't understand. Why don't they just throw a blue ring octopus at their face or something? Why don't they just make them eat fugu?
This is why we're going back to Firing Squad, because Firing Squad just makes so much more fucking sense. Your head fucking explodes. That's it.
What do you?
The electric chair is the one though that to me always seems so insanely cruel. I don't because
no.
Have you ever seen an electric chair? Have you ever been?
You said cruel, right?
Yeah,
but it's also really cool.
It is a little bit
really cool. Right,
but people would live remarkably long during the
they would. No, you'd have to just fucking cook their brain, right? If and multiple people survived, if I have to get killed by lethal injection, I want it to be Jolly West jumping a fence and putting a heroic dose of acid
Jolly West was able to successfully inject someone with so much LSD they died.
You mean an elephant?
An elephant. That was probably a wild 5 seconds for the elephant.
That elephant still thinks it's alive.
Yes.
Oh my God. Anyway. Although lethal injection is thought of as a more humane alternative to hangings, the electric chair or firing squads, lethal injections can actually take longer. It'd be more painful and more brutal. Sandbatch, once again, we've been Wendy'd. We've been hit with the old painting because she's about to say the thing that we just fucking said once again. Wendog did it again. This is especially so when any of the drugs that make up the lethal cocktail are miscalculated. If not properly anesthetized, the prisoner may experience feelings of suffocation and burning from the inside. Despite Doerhoff's self-assured peep through the window blinds, the second of the 3 lethal injection drugs, the paralyzing agent, prevents the condemned from doing anything but lying motionless and expressionless, making his guesstimates about whether or not the inmate has received an adequate dose of anesthesia astoundingly callow. Thus, we are presented with yet another story, one in which on June 11, 2001, America's least competent executioner killed America's most notorious terrorist. Oh my God. Oh, Tusco. I want to go. I want to get done like they did old Tusco. That's right. Until 2007, Dorhoff enjoyed anonymity as he went about his business of ushering in state-sanctioned deaths. After the St. Louis Post-Dispatch revealed his name, legislators passed a bill making the identities of executioners a state secret. A number of comparisons could be made about the intents and methods of modern executions and torture. Man, I wonder what that job pays, because I mean, how often could you possibly need to work, right?
Well over 6 figures, though.
Yeah, I mean, right? It's got to be great. I want that job. I'm going to apply. I mean, apparently you don't need to be a good doctor. It's just you just need someone who's willing to do it. I guarantee you, I can do better than this guy. I'm going to give people an LD 100 dose of LSD every time.
Every time.
Oh, what'd you inject him with?
I'll double. I'll we do this so infrequently. I'll double the LD 100. Actually, you're going to be super dead.
Right? Exactly. It's like you are going to be fucking gone. It's going to happen instantaneously. It'll be amazing. And we're gonna broadcast it. We're gonna put the Live Leak logo in the corner. R.I.P. Live Leak.
So wait, so you remember you remember the question I had about have you ever seen an electric chair?
Yes.
Have you ever? Okay, what was the?
Have you ever sat in an electric chair?
I have. Yeah. What yeah. Did the one you sat in have a name?
Not that I recall. No, I saw it at a Ripley's Believe It or Not.
But was it one from a real state penitentiary?
No, it was real. Yeah, it was a real. It was a. Well, they said it was a real one.
At least
I don't know why they would lie about that. I'm sure there are plenty.
At least in the South, okay. I don't know if this is necessarily true about the other states, but at least in the South, all of because in southern states there's only one electric chair in the whole state. Okay, and this is one of these times where I'm going to give away that I know way too much about an obscure, gruesome topic. But this is Library of Mass Destruction, so this is where we're at. But in southern states, there was only ever one in the state, and so they would quickly acquire these sort of legendary nicknames. But Virginia, for instance, is called Old Sparky. In Texas, it's also Old Sparky. In Alabama, it's Yellow Mama. And yeah, well, it's yes.
Ha, Yellow Mama.
Yes. In Louisiana, which is the one that I've sat in, its name is Gruesome Gertie. Okay.
Whoa.
Yes. And
wow.
the case in which someone survived their electric chair incident was in Louisiana. So Gruesome Gertie is the only known electric chair to not have a perfect record. And what would you think would be the outcome of someone surviving their electric chair incident?
Honestly, I kind of feel like if you survive a attempted execution, they should just let you go.
Well, the lawyers did attempt that.
It seems like that would be fair. I think they probably just put you back in.
It was 17-year-old African American man named Willie Francis, and his lawyers. It went all the way to the state Supreme Court. So Willie Fry Guy Francis. Yeah, the case went all the way to the state Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that the second attempt would not violate the Constitution, and they fried him.
Wow.
Can you imagine having to go back the second time? Fuck.
I think it's probably just fair play if you survive it,
I agree, but he was black, so he probably raped a white woman. Oh, look at this picture of him. He got buck tooth. He looked just like George Floyd. I cannot believe I'm talking like this.
Yeah.
Let's see what he did. Detained in Texas on suspicion of drug trafficking due to him carrying a briefcase and speaking with a stutter.
Amazing. And he got death for that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. We were just burning tards.
Dude, Southern Jim Crow went hard.
That's wild. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think I'd execute someone like that. It wouldn't be on my short list, but amazing. Very into it. Okay. A number of comparisons could be made about the interests and methods of modern executions and torture. Both are acts of total theater that take place on skillfully designed stages and reveal only what the dispassionate playwrights and directors wish them to, never anything more or less. Sometimes interrogations and torture involve the staging of mock executions to induce fear, and sometimes executions involve torture. The identities of those who perpetrate both are state secrets. You don't want to know. We're keeping you safe.
Thanks. Wendy's reading the Shakespeare and smoking a blunt there.
You ever wonder why all of the people who got their heads chopped off by ISIS back when that was a thing? Ancient Giga Chad once again. Hey guys, remember ISIS? So when they were getting their heads chopped off, you ever wonder why all those people seemed really calm? Do you?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But, yeah, you know why? Well, the answer is that all the fucking time they would get trotted out and have a knife placed on their throat, and then they would be released. Like they would be like, all right, well, let's go back. So the first couple times they freak out, right? But then after a while it becomes mundane, and so they just don't even struggle anymore. And so that's why none of them ever struggled when they finally did kill them.
The third D.
Yep. So, yeah. So, anyway, the Cold War notion of sleeper agent was fictionally and factually associated with brainwashing, hypnosis, torture, interrogation, espionage, sabotage, and assassination. Cold War sleepers unknowingly carried out actions scripted by others. But after 9/11, the sleeper concept became increasingly associated with witting terrorists and invisible but constant terrorist threat. No matter what era they appear in, at some point, all sleepers must wake up and remember who they really are. While it appeared to the public that McVeigh succumbed to death's sleep, in the Bourne scenario, his controllers awaken him from his slumber. Like the tales of tracking chips in McVeigh's buttocks and tooth, in the same years after his execution, his personal, privately told Bourne scenario took on a narrative life of its own. And like those about Elvis, legends about McVeigh's fake death continue to circulate, each year gaining new speculative details. The lineage of fictional amnesiac assassin Jason Bourne can be traced to Raymond Shaw, protagonist of The Manchurian Candidate. Like Shaw, Bourne is both the agent and the victim of a government program designed to turn him into a lethal human weapon. Unlike the 1959 version of Shaw, who is the victim of an outside enemy, Bourne's dilemma is a result of the U.S.'s own actions, policies, and agencies. He is a tool and weapon of the U.S. security state itself, and the intrusive memories that plague him, but always remain just out of reach, are allegories for the details of an already always unknowable secret national history and the very spectacle of amnesia, required to maintain national security secrets. The Bourne movies hint at such national secrets when viewers witness some of the behavioral modification techniques used to transform Bourne into an efficient killer, scenes clearly inspired by events at Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo Bay. The Bourne stories, said one cultural critic, raise troubling questions about the use of violence and the ways in which national security managers determine that a former U.S. soldier is himself a security threat and needs to be terminated. Shockingly, as it turns out, a man trained, programmed, and authorized to maim and kill is disposable. Yeah. Man. The third D is dilly-dallying. They've been dilly-dallied. Excellent. Yeah. I guess that's true. I mean, you only know media history, or some revised version of history, but whatever really happened, it's the past is clouded in fog, and so is the future, and in fact the present. So
Wendy's like, we don't really know anything, and
we ain't no shit. We ain't no shit.
Everybody's wearing masks for everybody all the time.
She wrote it. I wrote a 700-page book about 2 seconds in Oklahoma City in 1995.
Oh my God, she should totally sell it that way.
Yeah, it's like fuck you, Proust. you fucking noob. Like, yeah. McVeigh, like Bourne, seemed to have some serious memory malfunctions, and knowingly or otherwise enacted a number of different personalities, each with different functions. Like Bourne, he at times believed and sometimes claimed to be or have been involved in undercover operation of some sort. He had been, and this cannot be stressed too much, the subject of experimental vaccines and drugs before the first Gulf War, and exposed to terrible chemicals in the turkey shoot. He believed himself to have been the subject of experimental and medical procedures, including, like Bourne, implanted with the tracking chip. Further, he claimed to at least one person that he sometimes suffered from recurring blackouts. They usually lasted 2 or 3 days, but in one instance, several weeks. During these episodes, he did things he could not remember later. Episodes that sounded a lot like dissociative fugue states. It's like when he sucked that dude's dick on the road outside Kingman, Arizona. That's what happened. That's what happened. He was he was just fuging and gooning.
Just fuging and blowing off random dudes. Like, did you not suck Agent Carter's penis outside of Kingman, Arizona on Highway 80? It was a fugue, sir.
It was a fugue, sir. It was a fugue. Just need a few good men. In the Bourne scenario, McVeigh's decision to block an autopsy of his body was his effort to help those behind the scenes stage a theatrical smoke and mirrors execution, as was his alleged autopsy. Dead men, however, tell no tales, and McVeigh was assuredly a teller of tales. I'm sure that Dr. Dorhoff's autopsies are even more ridiculous than his executions. He just goes in there with a fucking chainsaw, and he's like, "Oh man, he died because all his organs are all over the place."
Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't put this back together. I don't even know what that is. That's his head. Oh, really? Wild. I wonder what Dorhoff's up to right now. Let's find
check that one out.
Alan Dorhoff. Get him on the show. Hey, I heard that you were a really retarded executioner. How was that? What did that pay? Can you put in a good word for me?
A surgeon who has been sued for malpractice more than 20 times.
How do you not like?
You used to throw in the towel at some point,
I know, like what? Like I found my calling. Like he should just do amputate. No, actually, he shouldn't do amputations because if he's gonna amputate the wrong limb. Like, oh my God, yeah, Sex Freakman. He's so bad he does the autopsy before the execution.
But
excellent. No, you're saving a step. Really, that's just efficiency. He's not dyslexic. He's thrifty.
Dude, there are so many incredible news stories about him. The Columbia, Missouri, on July 28, 2008, Missouri dismisses dyslexic executioner.
Oh my God! What? How did he? Honestly, how did he fuck up? How do you lose that job?
The Catholic Culture magazine reports the bad news is you got the death penalty. The good news is your executioner has dyslexia.
I don't. It's ridiculous to me that that anyone could fuck this up. Like, What? Clearly nobody was checking his work. He could have used anything.
Inexplicably, Alan Dorhoff, MD, the man himself, that's him, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's him.
Has a Twitter page.
Yes. Instant follow. Instant follow.
And it's him holding a lake trout that he's caught.
Awesome. I mean, he was probably hunting for deer, but like, let's be real.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, he is not following. He's following Donald Trump and a golf course and has no followers. Oh no. He's followed by the University of Missouri Surgical. Oh no.
And now he's being followed by C. Sandbatch.
Oh, beautiful.
That probably just catastrophically tanked my algo, but I'm taking one for the team here.
Following this guy. This is amazing. Oh my God. All right. Oh, that would be the best. It's such a killer interview, right? I gotta get that guy on. I'm gonna get him on to Drive Time. I'm gonna get him on to Drive Time movie night. We're gonna watch a movie about executions. It's gonna be excellent. Oh my God. Helen R. Dorhoff. I'm gonna DM him. I'm gonna DM him immediately. Anyway. Okay. Hey bro, heard you suck at killing. Want to talk about it? It's gonna be great. Hopefully he's still around. He joined in 2016 and has never posted anything. So this is a little, maybe he's not going to be answering those DMs. We'll see. Anyway,
Woodpit 420 says our guy. Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy that University of Missouri Surgical School followed him. that's like really supporting your graduates, right? Like they just love their alumni. Anyway,
dude, two of my professors follow me, and I think they don't know that I'm me.
Oh my God. MS Spatula, Dyslexic Doc Interview Fund. Thank you very much for the super chat. Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get there. Although I guess we'll do the Dyslexic Doc. Maybe we'll do the Dyslexic Doc interview. No, we'll do both. We'll try to do both. Anyway. So let's see. Dead men, however, tell no tales, and McVeigh was assuredly a teller of tales. Wendy, you're turning a phrase here. Is it possible that his autopsy would have told yet another suppressed story? Another movie about dead men telling no tales is Pirates of the Caribbean. That would be in character for Wendy. Is it possible that his autopsy would have told yet another suppressed story by revealing evidence of the many physical illnesses that plagued him since joining the army? Was McVeigh's very body the site of some other unimaginable state secret, full of bugs? If so, the lack of an autopsy is simply one more in a long line of, one hates to use a tire-worn term, cover-ups. Or may it have worked both ways? Was his execution staged and McVeigh spirited to some remote location to be used one last time as an experimental wolf, only to be taken out back and shot by shady doctors after getting the most value out of their investment? The possibility is chilling to contemplate, and yet a number of details about the bombing and the subsequent obfuscation, as well as the details of McVeigh's life, call to mind the maxim, truth is stranger than fiction. I want to talk to Alan Dorhoff just to see if it's like, so are you sure you killed him? And he seems pretty laid back, to be real with you. So yeah. He may just say, I don't know. Like, does it matter now?
No, what would you have done in my situation?
Probably just injected him with a shitload of stuff. I mean, what, you got to pay for it yourself?
No, just be like, well, the syringe they give you is not big enough. You got a problem.
I just used two.
As a side note,
he's bad at math, so he didn't think to use two.
Right. As a side note, Wendy Painting has enough material available for GPT to pick her up and will role play as her. and it's pretty close.
Oh no!
I'm going to tell it to talk to me dirty like Wendy Painting.
Talk to me. Oh God. Oh Lord. Too spicy. Yeah. If someone sends us $50, we'll do an hour of Wendy Painting
right,
GPT dirty talk.
You're asking for something dirty, but we're staying in the psyche-saturated, subversively erotic register of Wendy Painting, PhD.
Amazing. Absolutely beautiful.
Try this. I want you sprawled out on the floor of an evidence locker.
Oh my God. Nothing has ever been better or worse. On June 11th, 2012, I found myself sitting in the basement of a private university in the remote mountain regions of Western New York. I was going through a private archival collection that contained transcripts of conversations between McVeigh and his biographers, as well as the letters he wrote them during the final 2 years of his life. In response to a question about what he would change if he could, he wrote, "The culture of secrecy in government. I would open up everything to public disclosure and scrutiny. No more black budget crap. No more redacting government documents. Government secrecy means government operates by conspiracy, decisions in secret. It breeds suspicions of cover-ups and actual cover-ups. And hey, let's be real. If someone or some entity feels they're doing right morally, there's no need for secrecy, including the CIA policy of non-disclosure of names of employees past or current. You only keep something secret or hidden because you know it's wrong or you fear reprisal. But why fear reprisal if you're the white knight, right?" I also really like that Wendy has like started it here in like a diary form, right? Like on July,
yes.
I found myself sitting in the basement. It's like we're really like, oh, so now it's like the camera's on Wendy doing this.
She's like done. Research. She's done the Twin Peaks thing where she's solved the murder now. Like, you know, like she's really she's out of room here. So this is just kind of her coda.
Yeah. Well, no, there's actually a whole other section that's her coda.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be short by any means, you know.
Right. But yeah, as we said like 2 episodes ago, Wendy injects herself into the narrative more and more as the book goes on, and maybe Dorhoff could have taken some lessons there by injecting more.
You're a case file now, a warm, wet, redacted case file.
Oh my. On the other hand, not long after writing this, he told them that Stephen Jones still controlled his case file, and he feared that after he filed his appeal, which in part would claim that Jones provided inadequate legal counsel, Jones would find a way to overtly or covertly release the material to the public. What Jones was holding on to, he warned them, was the most relevant stuff. He was sure that someday a lot of it would be leaked. The materials in the case file are supposed to be protected. Jones thinks he can donate them. He thinks he owns them. We're fighting with him on that. McVeigh fretted that if his legal documents were released 20 years from now, it would be too late for him to defend himself from anything within them, a lot of which he said was inaccurate, the results of both malice and honest mistakes. You got another line from, Wenthought Robot.
Let me get you into a bunker. Let me taste the MK in your Ultra. Now whisper it. Whisper what really happened in Oklahoma.
Whisper what really happened in Oklahoma. Oh, no.
That's where I ride you hard and annotated. Okay, I quit now.
During discussions about his case file, he focused on the FBI 302s, making it seem as if this would be the source of inaccurate information. What he did not mention was that the case file consisted of more than 500 boxes of potentially embarrassing documents, including his letters, some of his military records, statements by his family, neighbors, friends, and fellow soldiers, and many, but not all, of his attorney memoranda documenting the Jones team's conversations with him. What he did say, his last words on the issue, at least his biographers, was were that if somebody accessed this material, especially if they already had it out for him, it could look pretty damning. Finally, he warned that the release of his case material would eclipse public interest in their book, American Terrorists, the authorized biography of Tim McVeigh. That's what I read on June 11th, 2012, the anniversary of McVeigh's execution. As soon as I did, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up and chills went through me. I immediately went outside to smoke a cigarette. I felt dizzy. For 4 years, I'd spent months at a time in the very boxes he was talking about, boxes of legal files Jones donated, that Jones told me about, that became the basis for the book you have just read. I am to date the only person to have gone through the entire publicly available portions of this case file. Timothy McVeigh emphasized to his biographers that same sentiment he expressed to his attorneys prior to his criminal trial. No matter what happened, he did not want somebody coming along writing the secret lives of Timothy McVeigh, at least in a way that expanded beyond his own dictation. Even after years of historical and investigatory research, when it comes to the majority of McVeigh's stories, I cannot claim to know with absolute certainty where truth, deception, fantasy, and confabulation begin and end. Throughout this book, I have laid out what I know and what other people have claimed to know. I have provided information to help test competing stories, in the process telling a few new ones. Minimally, I feel I have provided context to help explain why certain people might find certain stories believable, or at least possible, and why seemingly fantastic stories continue to be told. I've tried to corroborate claims made by others, and I could not attempted to present information in a way that would indicate this. People tell a lot of stories to themselves and others. They tell stories for various reasons, depending on the story being told, the person telling the story, and the intended audience of a story. Sometimes stories are true. Sometimes they're not. Some stories continue to be told and take on a life of their own. While the major elements, basic structure, and plot of a story may remain consistent, story changes, however slightly, with each new telling. This is true even when people intend to and think they are telling true stories. The meaning depends entirely on context, and this too changes. Stories are dynamic, not static. Stories are not photographs. They are not video recordings. They're not and can never be exact representations of what occurred at any given time, even if told within minutes of an event, especially involving many people. There are always missing details. There are always gaps. She was really channeling Rod Serling there.
That's right? What I was thinking. Well, she's like really having a serious moment. She's like, she's huffing her American spirit. She's getting all hot and bothered in these 500 boxes of documents.
Yeah, smoking a cigarette after the final quote. Yeah, un petit quote. But
I'm gonna have to look at her again and see if she's gotten any hotter.
Bruce Jackson wrote that real life often doesn't make sense, meaning not everything in life can be explained sufficiently. Sometimes things just happen in a whirlwind of contingency and chance. Even so, he said, the stories people tell each other should make sense, except under certain circumstances. Jackson said he could think of 5 permissible situations for telling nonsensical, fractured, and contradictory stories. When told by a young child, when told by the daily press, when communicating a myth, when describing a dream, and finally, when told by delusional, paranoid psychotics. Stories told by psychotic murderers, wrote Jackson, are clutter. They make no sense. They can't tell a straight story. Nevertheless, their disjointed, fragmented, and contradictory stories serve a larger purpose. They help to create a clearly defined line in the sand, in the shared cultural sand, by delineating innocence and guilt, right and wrong, time to kill, the boundaries of society, the corridors of power, the heart of legitimacy, the good and the evil. Underneath the surface of McVeigh's life story, as told by himself and others, is a mystifying, enigmatic, and at the same time all too familiar tale of dysfunction, patriotism, medical abuse, torture, interrogation, militarism. Sandbatch, did you just shoot yourself?
No, I knocked something off my chair.
Okay, great. That would have been the final episode of this show. Dear God.
That would be way louder than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how good your mic is. The frightening reach of technology, perceived betrayal, secrecy, misdirection, violent spectacles, and remorseless murder. The complete history of the OKC bombing and the events leading up to it will probably never be known due to withheld, ignored, manipulated, redacted, and destroyed evidence. It is, in all its details and variations, a story about expendable people in a cauldron of hate. In a broader sense, Cauldron of Hate could have been the title of this series. In a broader sense, stories told about McVeigh by himself and others, true, partially true, or totally fabricated, point to America's hidden history and the lengths that folks will go to conceal it. In his decision to have his body cremated, McVeigh told his biographers that he did not want somebody digging up his body in 100 years saying, "This is the real Tim McVeigh." While awaiting his trial, he expressed a particular fascination with one X-Files episode called Apocrypha that depicted doctors tending to barely alive, disfigured people who eventually died, after which an official coldly instructed the doctors to get rid of the bodies, to have them destroyed. The terrorist is an elusive, slippery figure, evoked for various reasons and intentions. On May 1st, 1995, Time magazine declared the likeness of Timothy McVeigh as the face of terror, a title retained in the years to come, usurped only briefly by Osama bin Laden. Amazingly, the corpses of the two faces of terrorism of my generation are non-existent. Wow. Wendy, you fucking did it.
She should just cold drop the mic here, and this should be the end of the story. But she's gonna gild the lily.
She is definitely gilding the lily. She couldn't stop with the cigarette. She had to go back for another round. Yeah, they're very, very interesting. I mean, this book is a triumph, by the way.
You know, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
This is the best book I've read this year.
And it's a book that I've read this year.
Yeah.
Look at these. We're not reading these footnotes, by the way. Like, this is the footnotes just for this section.
Oh God, Wendy! I want Ray Pete. I want an erotic painting of Wendy painted by Ray Pete.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can do that with ChatGPT.
Oh my fucking God, you doing it? Yeah. In any case, I mean, we're definitely not starting a new one. So let's see, Shawnee Mac. Yeah, we just finished the main body of the book. There is an epilogue section which we have on the screen now. But yeah, the main body of the book is done. That is the whole shebang. And I mean, we went through, this book is actually 700 pages. The actual amount that we are reading as we just like read the main body of it is, let's see, it ends up being something like 85% of the book. So we're not reading the footnotes essentially.
Sandbatch Coldcast. What the hell?
At the beginning of the beginning of the thing.
Oh yeah.
Share all your worst takes. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean,
made an enemy for life.
You just made an enemy for life. What's the wait the? So XGuy Extra, forget this Sandbatch Coldcast. I want the LoRa list. I don't know what that is. I don't know what LoRa is.
LoRa is it's a way of training a large language model using only a few of the layers of the neural network. But I have a feeling that's not what he means. Oh, it actually might be what he means because I'm very obviously. I mean, you can't get Wendy Painting to like talk about riding you in Oklahoma City on ChatGPT. You do need a little extra.
That was what I meant. He said.
Yeah.
Sandbatch coal is beautiful, clean coal. That's right. Johnny Mac. Yep. Anyway, so yeah. So I mean, I think that now is the right time to cut it. We do have you guys have a chance. You have a chance to get the Jolyon West primary source special. But you're gonna need to sneed those super chats, guys. In the meantime, while we wait for you to decide, we'll give you the time.
They're banking on whether or not we'll do it anyway. Is what they're doing. And
no free rides, whether or not I want to do it. Which
if it was just me, you would get it for free. But with Cap, see, this is like the thing where it's like I came to the conclusion. It's like I need a fucking manager. Cap is like my Colonel Tom Parker here. He's like, no, you're not making content unless they fucking pay the money.
I'm the Paul bearer to your Undertaker. Yeah. Can we hit the goal? Yeah. I mean, we got to sneed super checks, guys. DA is over. So I mean, I know you got gaps in your budget now. Yeah. So I mean, extra. We're not really like. I think we'll save final thoughts for the next episode, probably. For the epilogue, yeah. But I mean, the thing is that the greatest thing about Aberration in the Heartland of the Real is that you could really do this about any historic event.
Yeah.
Like the Oklahoma City bombing is not a uniquely convoluted one. You could do this about you could do a book of this length about Waco. You could do a book of this length about Ruby Ridge. You could do a book of this length about the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center. You could do a book. You could obviously write everything that has been written for the last 20 years about the 9/11 attack. Like, so you could write a book of this length about Tower 7. So it's the Wendy Painting approach. She has a tremendous approach, and her filters are set at exactly the right spot.
Well, okay, so like she's a historian. Okay, this is what she's and I am also
the highest compliment that Sandbatch can pay to somebody is to call them a historian, by the way.
I think maybe poet might be a little higher, but she's an exceptionally talented historian. And this is like I am being very complimentary. Like, had we gone to grad school together, I would have been all up in that. I'd have been all over myself. Just come sit with me she approaches things the same way I do. And this is a very end one move, especially in sort of contemporary history, which is exactly right. She's taken what's actually a sort of relatively mundane event. I mean, it's not a mundane event by any means. So, I mean, it's one of the most traumatic events of the 20th century, but it's an exceptionally well-trodden topic. There's like no shortage of people that are like the story of the McVeigh killing has already been told. What she's doing is something that any really incredible cultural historian can do, which is she goes into something that's already been written about, and she explodes the topic itself. Like, the topic almost doesn't matter. It's a jumping off point to explore a particular. In the past, history would be concerned about writing a narrative down as it occurred. She's not so much interested in doing that, but she's exploring a modality, she's exploring an aspect, like a total
dimension of American thought at a particular time, the American experience and thought at a particular time and moment. And she's like, sort of takes, so like, again, you said she's written 500 books about 2 seconds in Oklahoma City, but she's expanded. What she said is she's flipped this sort of temporality, this 2 seconds horizontally, and just wandered through it for as long as she wanted to. And she's been incredible. I'm simping for her on Twitter right now. I'm like retweeting her threads. Like that's how into Wendy I am.
That's right. And of course she won't acknowledge us because we're too right wing, sadly. RIP us. But
I'm gonna DM slide her one day.
One day, hey, how do you feel about listening to some chuds read your book for 85 hours
interspersed with GPT generated dirty erotic transcripts of you.
The thing is that we're also like injecting her more into the book the longer it goes on as well.
Right.
We're following her cues here. So in any case, I believe that I believe, we got Sloppy Joe Stalin says, do our lads want this goal to be met? So we will do a Jolly on West primary source special if we meet the goal. That will be, I have collected several works of his. We have his work on hallucinations. We have his work on the gay problem in the military. We have his work on dentistry as a diagnostic criteria. We have, let's see.
But he wrote one on. I didn't know he had one on the gay problem in the military. Oh no, I do remember that.
Yeah.
His work on hallucination. There's also one. There's one that I want to get. There's one that I want to get, but I have to get my University of Southern California source to actually go in and get it for me.
Yeah.
It's it's an exploration of Rachmaninoff's work. Like
interesting.
The post-Soviet pianist.
Yeah. Very interesting. I was not aware of that one.
The hallucination one that's the mother lode.
Yeah, I mean he edited it. It is I have it on my desk, pmbondi.jpg. But yeah, no, it's sitting right next to me. It is now in my hand. I'm narrating all of my motions to you. And it has like his end of it is a general theory of hallucinations and dreams, Louis Jolyon West, MD. And he opens it with a quote by Lord Byron. So that's how he rolls. Sandbatch shot himself that time.
No, stuff keeps falling off my chair.
Okay.
I'm not sitting at my desk tonight because I was like when I was doing the thing that gave me COVID or whatever the fuck it is, I was like cleaning all the shit off my desk and I like snapped off the wire in my good microphone. So like I'm not even sitting at my desk today. I'm just like over in the corner. I'm like huddled in the corner. Yeah. I gotta get a new cord.
Absolutely. I mean, actually, you know what? Your audio today was not actually worse.
It's like I said, it's not. Yeah. Well, I was using one of those like Blue Yetis from like 10 years ago. So I'm like, I'm sure the internal mic in my much newer computer is probably about on par with it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we are going to call it. We're going to cut it there. And with that, Sandbatch, do you have anything coming up that you need to show? Anything happening before the next week?
Oh no, I'm gonna have some more Substack shit out. But like I'm all jammed up right now with like 4 projects. Because I have that Day Redeed. I have a book of poems that I'm almost done with, and then I have the Texas Noir, like the womb chthonic novel, and then I have another novel. I'm like all jammed up with stuff that takes longer than just like 2 days at a time,
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we'll look out for your poetry collection when it's up on Amazon KDP.
It's I really don't want. I need to find. I'm going to try to find somebody else to publish it because I mean, it's just I don't have a problem.
This fucking guy is allergic to money. I swear to fucking God.
But I don't have a problem with KDP, but I don't think it's a great place to publish first book.
You could probably get a publisher just because of your audience, but
exactly. I was gonna say, I'm actually, but I have fucking double dealer press or some shit like that, or maybe have Dan publish it. I don't know.
Hey, we have a super chat, possibly final super chat of the show, from Sloppy Joe Stalin. Real talk, Trinity better or worse than alien brain parasite eating GF?
Oh my God, that woman was so fucking hot.
I am going to say Trinity is definitely worse than the love interest from the film Brain Damage, which is what I am certain you were talking about.
That's what I was thinking. But more interesting,
the girl from Brain Damage was better in every way.
Far more interesting though, girl from Brain Damage or girl from Bug.
Yeah. Oh, Bug. Brain Damage. Brain Damage is still Brain Damage.
That's probably right. But
least deserved fate award goes to girl from Brain Damage.
However, I called the girl from Bug hot early on, and y'all made fun of me, and she got hotter and hotter as the movie went on.
Ashley Judd, yeah, she did. Although she literally got hotter and hotter because she died in an ammonium nitrate explosion. Yeah, that's true. And also Sloppy Joe Stalin, it's not really cheating, but just sent 2 super chats to make us hit our goal. Thank you.
Yeah,
90% for Cap, 5% for Mike, 5% for Sandbatch. All right, we will be doing a Jolly on West special after we're done with the epilogue of Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. And before we start,
we should do that one on a day when we're not competing with OGC.
Yeah, good call. Good call. And actually, we're going to be probably switching time slots at the end of Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. So
because they're not going to change, and they just actually, how many people did we have in here? We had 230 people in here, and competing with OGC is not fun. It's really, because especially they're really good friends of ours.
They had 2,000 viewers. They had 2,000 viewers. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that when Hudson and I started this, this was just the time that worked.
Right.
And so, but yeah, we'll switch it up, and we will do it. Vulpus, you do not need to apologize. Obviously, we realize we're not trying to split anything. It's just how it worked out. Anyhow, all right.
That was it. That's all I got.
All right. That's it. We're gone. See you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine. And remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to associate, to speak, and to defend the causes that were for the moment unpopular. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. Good night.